That movie exists. I mean, I don't understand what this obsession is with turning villains into heroes, but Mr. Douglas Hackle may be here for real.
Yo,
We hear you. We hear you, Doug.
Doug's
Okay.
a doggo now.
what's up, guys?
Hey,
Man,
how you doing?
It is such an honor to have you here, man. It's been so many years, and I'm sure you've heard so many terrible things about me. And
Hold on one sec.
He's got to turn himself back from a dog.
Oh, that's much better.
Permanently.
You hear me?
Yeah, I was just saying you probably heard so many terrible things about me, and some of them are true and some of them aren't. But I'm thankful that you're here today, and I promise we won't embarrass you intentionally. So
Yeah, man. Before we get started, I have something to say.
Huh?
My name is Douglas, pronounced with an uglis. I'm on the mic, and I just don't give a fuglis. I'ma eat maggots while your basic ass eats hummus. Gonna stuff my mouth with crickets while you be whacking, you be bugless. And just like that, boy, I'ma roll up on a dank uni, doing sick on fleek tricks, making you look dumb and whack and puny. So don't be jelly when I roll on through, nabbing more ass than a goddamn zoo. While you be sticking worms on hooks to catch some whack-ass fish, I be eating worms and maggots as the main damn dish. Swish.
oh,
And just like my dude Edgar Allan fucking Poe, I'ma wash that shit down with a cask of Amontillado, yo. Yeah, I'm on the mic. Yup, I'm on the conga. And just like Nietzsche, that's which does that makes me kill me, makes me stronger. Yo, I be having sex while you be wanking to computer virus porn. And just like motherfucking Yates, I'm a slouch towards Bethlehem to be born. To the D, to the O, to the U, to the G. Poppets is hustlers and puppets is G's. Yeah, that's right, dude. I'm the original hackster. So best up your game, G, and take some lessons from the master.
Bravo.
Awesome.
That's the intro actually to my second short story collection, which is called Is Winona Ryder Still with the Dude from Soul Asylum? And Other Lurid Tales of Terror Do. For those of you out there who don't know what about that. You know what? I have to say that last line makes me sound like I'm a little more full of myself than I actually am. So best up your game, G, and take some lessons from the master. I'm not a master, okay? You know, now, granted, I am kind of full of myself, but not that full of myself. You know what I mean? Master, more like masturbator. You know what I'm saying, Jeremy?
I know.
Jeremy does, indeed.
I know about that. But the slouch towards Bethlehem line, that is gold right there. And a lot of people may not get that, but I did. So,
well, thanks.
I think that most people get that.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't know. A lot of people from my neck of the woods probably wouldn't because they don't know a lot about Yates. But yeah, that's gold, man. That you shouldn't change a single line of that. But have you ever done stand up? Because you have a really great gift when it comes to like comedic timing in your work. And I mean, clearly some talented, like veterans of underground literature, have seized on this talent of yours. Have you ever done stand up or been in front of an open mic? I mean,
no, I have not. Thank you for asking me that question, but no, I haven't. I'm not like, I'm a musician actually. I play guitar. So I have had some experience performing, when I was younger in my 20s. I used to play in bands and stuff. I still play. I'm playing more classical guitar these days just to kind of like chill, But as far as performing, no, I've never done stand up. I kind of have, with the guitar, I kind of hide behind the guitar and just, let people focus on the guitar, not me. I kind of have a little bit of stage fright, a little, I guess, social anxiety. I'm not that great of a talker. Normally, you got to loosen my tongue up a little with a couple drinks, which, as you guess, I might have done already. Or else I wouldn't have had the courage to start rapping like that, probably. But yeah, to answer your question, no, I've never done stand up or even thought about doing it.
I don't know, man. I think maybe you do good with it. I have laughed so hard at your books, harder than most people have ever been able to get out of me in a book. Like
Thank you.
the one book by the guy who wrote what is it? The thing about the goldfish for Eraserhead Press. I laughed real hard at that. Or what is it? Thanksgiving, kill your neighbor or something, or eat your neighbor.
Oh yeah, I know
Your
what you're
neighbor?
talking about.
Chris something. I don't know.
Genoa.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
Chris,
it.
Yeah.
Yes. I laughed really hard at that, and I laughed really hard at hottest gay man ever killed in a shark attack, and Zoltergeist the Poltergeist made me. Please don't eat your neighbor. Maybe that was the name of it, or
It's like lick your neighbor or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was
lick your neighbor. Lick your neighbor. Yes. Anyway, that one made me laugh, and two of yours made me laugh, and I don't think I've read the first Winona Ryder collection yet, but I mean, what is it with this My Tiny Little Son thing? How did that start, and why is that so funny?
I can't tell you that. Just so you know, I have dogs, so hopefully that won't be an issue. I may have to mute here, but there's not much going on here right now, so I don't think anybody's going to be pulling in a driveway. But anyway, yeah, that came out in. I first did that in my novelettes called, what's it called? The Ballad of Terror, Tiny Tim. There's what's that?
Four Gentlemen of the Apocalypse.
Yeah. My contribution to that anthology. Not to get ahead of myself here, but in my final and short story collection, that's newly edited sort of director's cut of that novelette is going to be the centerpiece. So
good, because that one's kind of hard to get hold of, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm doing it. It's basically out of print. Not that it was always an ebook, but you know what I mean by out of print. He took it down. So it is out of print. So that'll be the centerpiece because even though it's an older work, it's one of my favorites. It still stands up for me as far as my favorites of my own stories. So there's a good chance that collection may actually be called The Ballad of Terror, Tiny Tim, and Other Tales, or something like that.
Cool.
Okay.
Unless I may come up with something completely different. But anyway, so yeah, in that story, there's two guys. It's been a while since I revisited it, and they're trapped in this sex dungeon or something, and I can't remember the protag's name, but his buddy, the sort of sidekick secondary character, his name is You Don't Have to Be Lonely at farmersonly.com.
That's his name?
That's his name, yeah.
Did he sell like naming rights to that website or something?
Yeah, essentially. So it's like at some point, like these things, they just come out. I just start writing and the weird shit just starts coming out. And that was one chapter where they kept calling each other. They would say something and they would end the sentence with "my tiny little son." You know what I'm saying? My tiny little son. Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, and then it's funny how like people like a lot of people, you included, commented on it, and then like people started sending me messages and hey, what's up, my tiny little son? And so I reciprocated, and then I started building on it, and now it's just not. I'll have characters say all kinds of like strange shit, like say, you know what I'm saying? My tiny little three-legged stray dog, shit like that, So, but you're right. It all comes back. It all comes back to that one, that my tiny little son. That was the first time.
Yeah, and the name of the daughter. I just remembered the name of the daughter in that novelette was the boomerang that didn't come back.
Yes,
That's amazing. That's amazing. Only in Bizarro can you get away with that kind of just reckless abandon of any, literary like dignity, prestige.
Absolutely. There's no limits. I'm horrible with podcasts. I just don't have a whole lot of time for them. So I see some of yours are like 7 hours long. So like, whoa, dude, but anyway, I'm trying to like.
Yeah, we've got a sniper pointed at you, and if you don't stay for the whole 7 hours, things will happen.
Yeah. But like I've been trying to listen to more, and to your point there, I was listening to, I don't know, Dead Man's Tome or something. And he had Ryan something.
Harding.
Yeah. And they were talking and they were talking about, and the whatever that guy's name who was interviewed said, yeah, that must be a great thing, to be in extreme horror. And when you get to those scenes of violence and horror, the sky's the limit. You could do whatever you want. And he's like, yeah. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, yeah, you imagine being able to do that with every element of the text, not just the violent scenes. Imagine there being no ceiling, and from the tiniest detail to your main theme, everything there's literally no restrictions, on what you can do. And you could get as weird as you want. That just reminded me because I was listening to this podcast yesterday. So yeah, you're right. And that's kind of, sort of my MO. And, when I'm writing this stuff, I, like to keep it very bizarre, very weird, and always be aware of the fact that my imagination's my limit. You see that expression used by other authors and reviewers and stuff. And, this guy's got his imagination has no limits. And then they kind of throw that phrase around and it becomes kind of meaningless. And then you look and you're like, okay, this guy with the big imagination that has no limits. Let's see, what is his book about? And then his book ends up being a story about a group of people trying to survive an apocalyptic zombie outbreak.
Right. Or a
does
family moves to a small mysterious town. Right?
Yeah. Does that sound like like this incredible imagination that's going new places? No, it isn't. So and I know, you could go back to, Joseph Campbell's archetype stories. You could only do so much to be truly original. You're going to end up going back to one of those archetypes. But I like when people try, at least. You know what I mean? Like and in the attempt, you may hit some beats that are truly original, and that haven't been done before. So that's one of the main appeals to bizarro fiction for me.
Cool.
Yes. Whether you're calling it, you could use that term. You could call it bizarre. People were writing bizarre
fiction.
Yeah. People were writing bizarre shit longer, for a long time before that became a marketing term. Right. Used more recently. But yeah.
I mean, you could argue that what you write is more absurdist fiction than it is bizarro, but I mean, it fits within that broader category, I would think.
Yeah. I could see that. I see with bizarro. It's funny because a lot of periodically you'll see people on social media talking about it and trying to define it. It's a conversation I've probably seen happen 50 times. Like, what do you think bizarro is? Blah, 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 blah. And for me, I've always liked just my favorite, and I think the best definition, it comes straight out of an old Carlton Mellick essay, from probably 20 years ago, is fiction that is primarily enjoyed because of its bizarreness or its weirdness. That's it,
Right.
And that could encompass so much, and that's the definition I like. So that's why I've historically speaking, in my run here, of bizarro fiction, I have no problem, embracing that term, but neither do I care if you want to call it neo-absurdism, horror with a horror comedy bent, whatever,
Right. Yeah, that's a nice broad definition of bizarro.
I've heard the movie, the what is it? The weird movie section of the video store. I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
What do they call
movie section?
The cult movie sections. Yeah, that's what Kevin Strange runs around saying a lot.
Anyway, so. But one of the funniest sections that I have ever heard of, or ever read in one of your books, is from Hottest Gay Man Ever Killed in a Shark Attack. I was wondering if I could read it. Would it be possible?
Dude, take it away.
I think it would be possible.
I love this. This is so hilarious, and let's make it clear that Douglas Hackle is a very friendly, affable person. I've met him in person, and this is all harmless fun, so don't take it too personal. Don't take it seriously. The last thing you should ever take personally is a passage from Hottest Gay Man Ever Killed in a Shark Attack. But I've got to read this to let you know what you're missing if you haven't read this. The sled from Citizen Kane, named Rosebud. Okay, he starts a band, and he's like, he's ad-libbing in front of a microphone to a rowdy, bar in the middle of nowhere. And I think one of the guys has like a polar bear head, and he like just plays one note on his keyboard, and he calls it tone core.
Yeah.
I mean, a real.
Core.
And there's another guy who's just an arm, and I don't remember if he plays guitar or bass or what. But this
Drum.
is
Well, I mean, he was a
drummer.
he was a drummer's arm, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Rick Allen, the real drummer from Def
Def
Leppard, who we know he conquered his handicap, and he was a successful rock drummer with one arm. But anyway, his missing arm is the drummer of this band.
And he has not overcome his handicap, has he? Has he?
What's that?
And he has not overcome his handicap, right? The one
No,
arm.
no. If I remember correctly, he's pissed off because he's actually a really sweet drummer.
Yeah.
And then, like Rick Allen, he just does these kind of basic beats, and he's pissed off that, Def Leppard, he gets played on the radio and so he's kind of bitter about that.
I mean, it's just so executed so well, man. It's as good as any Farrelly Brothers movie. It's as good as any Kids in the Hall skit. I swear to God. Here we go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. White boys of the world. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The New York Jew is exploiting the labor of the Alabama black man, and the New York Jew in an effort to bring Whitey down, and the all want to eat your dogs and cats and fuck all your ladies and kidnap them and take them back to China to enslave them for 277 years. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, Whitey, don't you know that the gays and the feminazis want everybody in the world to be gay so that no one will reproduce, so that America will crumble into the fucking seven seas, so that towel-headed Arabs, spaghetti twirling waffles, and baby seal barbecue and Eskimos can take over the planet? Yeah, 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 biatches.
That's amazing.
Hey, that was good. That was good. I don't know. You got me to giggle at my own shit. So,
Oh,
So wait, who's saying that though? In that
Sled.
the
Rosebud.
sled? Okay, that's right. Rosebud saying that. All right.
Oh my God, I love that book, man. But you're just as funny with older guys. It's like you don't miss a step, man. So this guy, explain why he has to go to this place called the Penance House and repent for several weeks or months.
oh, sure. Zoltergeist, the Poltergeist. What I do with a lot of stories, and even this is my third short novel, I like to come up with a completely absurd premise, often ones that might be good for maybe a flash fiction, but then like find a way to string it out into something longer. And sometimes that results in a short novel. Not often, but in the case of, we were just talking about the hottest gay man ever killed by in a shark attack. That was like the initial idea. I was thinking that would be, there's a category in the Guinness Book of World Records, a real category for the hottest gay man ever killed in a shark attack. And for some reason, in the world, the diegesis of the novel, like it has this popularity associated with it, and people want to become the next hottest gay man killed in a shark attack. Now it's completely absurd, irrational. It makes no fucking sense. And I probably had, initially you're like, what? No, okay, write your stupid little flash fiction and move on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, like if sometimes, they become these longer things. In this one, I had a short story idea, and it was that somebody went to confession and at a Catholic, with the Catholic priest, and they confessed to one sin, and that was having an impure thought about the lead singer of the Bangles back when they were a kid in the 80s. And then the priest goes, "Oh my God," and then like you have to serve 6 months of penance for your sin, Again, completely ridiculous, stupid. It was probably it was fodder for a good bizarro flash fiction, but I figured out a way to by combining it with a few other ideas. That's another thing I do. I often have 2 or 3 ideas and I kind of put them together, and that helps make the larger narrative. So that's kind of how that one came about as a potential short story that got turned into a short novel.
But the penance jackpot, that's essentially the big reason why he's there, because he's the one in a million chance.
Yeah.
The person that hit the penance jackpot with the confessional.
He confesses that one sin, but then because he's in Vegas and there's, he pulls this slot machine like lever, and then he's won in 70 million a chance to win the penance jackpot, and the priest says, "Oh, you have to go serve 6 months of penance for having an impure thought about the lead singer of the Bangles."
And then he does, and he passes the time by watching his favorite sitcom, which is like, I don't know, 900 some seasons in, called Zoltergeist the Poltergeist, and it's about a real life poltergeist playing a fictional version of a poltergeist.
Yeah,
and
kind of like Seinfeld.
Huh?
Kind of like Seinfeld. How he played a fictional version of himself.
Yeah.
Or even Larry David, any of that stuff. Yeah, it's kind of a parody of that.
But see, some of the scenarios are so outlandish, and they all end with that silly, like a snare drum or a wah wah wah, that it's like it works in the sitcom, and there's a laugh track and everything. What is one of the most funnest scenarios from that show that you had the most fun putting in here?
Oh yeah, so the structure of the book. This is sort of related to the question. It came out. I was actually going to try to pitch this to Adult Swim.
What?
Zoltergeist the Poltergeist, the show.
Whoa.
And they have that, what's it called? The development meeting show. I think they might have stopped it because they stopped their streaming last with the COVID and everything. They had to dial some of that stuff back. But you could go on there if it's still on. Go check it out. You could pitch your ideas.
Wow!
And it's a live stream, and you can pitch your ideas. And I don't know how many success stories come out of that, but I was gonna try it, and I even started enlisting the help of a couple people, and we had a little Facebook chat group going, and it didn't pick up. My idea of trying to pitch the show, I didn't develop it to that point. But I started the book first, so I finished the book, and the book structurally there's this greater narrative, but the that takes place. It's kind of like a parody of gothic horror or a gothic story.
Dark Shadows, right?
Yeah, you got the old house, and then you have this sort of this corrupted ancestral line sort of story that becomes clear later on, and it's very much, but it's a parody of that, obviously, because there's so much fucked up, weird, just crazy ass shit going on. But yeah, structurally you have that main narrative, but then you have the protag sort of, he watches the show to escape from that narrative, kind of. And he watches, and then each time he watches an episode, it's like a story within a story, then he'll tell the episode, and it's like a little story, page and a half. Some of them may go up to 2 pages, and I think there's like 12 episodes of the show that are in the novel. You know what I mean? So in that sense, structurally, formally, it was different, than some of the long form fiction that I've done before. And it was fun. And to answer your question, what was the one I had? I liked, the one I thought, the episode I came out one of my personal favorites, probably The Vets. The Vets. Do you recall The Vets at all?
Gosh, I seem to remember one that had something to do with a drug overdose was the funniest one to me. I had it I was quoting it on Goodreads, but it escapes me now. What would you say, Vax or Vets?
The Vets, VET.
Okay.
They have to take the dog to the vets, and they end up taking him. They don't. He thinks he's taking him. Zoltergeist is sort of this blundering, like, goofball stepdad who his intentions aren't always evil. The universe of the show resets with each show, right? Mm. But sometimes his intentions aren't that bad, but he ends up killing his whole family by accident. And sometimes he'll do it on purpose, or kill everybody at the office where he works. And it's complete absurdism, complete, and with a sort of ultra violent bent to it. Like every episode is like a little bloodbath ultimately. And then, you get the sad trombone at the end. Wah, 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 wah. But anyway, the vet, he's supposed to take, his wife yells at him, take the dog to the vet. Don't screw this one up, And so he goes, okay, I'm going to go on Google and I'm going to find a vet. Oh, look, I found one. This one takes walk-ins. So let's go do this. And then this scene skips forward to they're in Koreatown. And an old Korean man who's like, he's shirtless, this old man, he's got dog tags on. He comes out. And Zoltergeist says, well, I called before. I came to take my dog in to see the vet. Are you the vet? And there's a sign that says the vet. And the Korean says, yes, me vet. and then he says, okay, well, my dog needs a wellness check. And the vet says, oh, you want dog well done?
Oh, yeah.
And he said, I guess so. He needs his heart guard and stuff, and a wellness check. And then the vet says, okay, you give dog do well done. And then he's walking around Koreatown, and then he all of a sudden he stops and he's like, he says to his stepson, he says,
your dogs don't like this.
One sec.
The dogs don't like this.
Yeah. Is there a mute button here? Hey. So he says, was there something strange about that vet back there? And his stepson, who's like 4 years old, says, yes, stepfather. As a matter of fact, I do think that he wasn't a vet at all. And he was, in fact, a vet of the Korean War, and that he's now cooking our dog, well done, as you requested, and then it goes, and then he has to take the dog home and explain to his wife. And that's my favorite.
Now, I almost forgot some of the best sections near the beginning, though. One passage is when he tries to appeal to one of the monsters that haunts the property, named the Clicking Thing, that is in a locked room that he is never to go into, as instructed by the Catholic priest. And he says, please don't fucking hurt this. I cried. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you. The Clicking Thing. Please don't fucking kill this. Man, I'll suck your dick if you don't kill this. Oh, please don't kill this. The Clicking Thing. Please. I then punctuated my groveling with a shrill, cowardly scream.
You do that pretty well. Maybe you could play, if there's a movie, you could play the guy in the movie.
Oh, I would do it. I would
Jimmy Green.
Yeah. But then there's another part. And this guy that he's talking to here, it has like he's made of chicken broth, or his arm is made of chicken broth or something. What?
He's everything. The whole 9 yards. He's a blob of chicken broth. He's a scoop.
And
he's
the one that's saying, you're my tiny little hound dog, right?
Yeah, that's his boss. He's an actor. He plays, like, if you go watch a movie and you ever see Tom Cruise is in the kitchen and you're paying attention to the dialogue, But if there's a big vat of soup sitting there, that might be him. You know what I mean?
That's crazy, but it works. It's
So
everyone.
yeah, and he drives our hero here drives a limo for that. I forget his name, for that blob of soup, who's an actor in Hollywood, and he plays soups and broths in movies.
Is it Clark Chesler?
Yes.
See, most everyone knew that Clark Chesler, a sentient, self-contained, free-floating, talking blob of chicken broth, was the A-list movie star of such popular films as A Homemade Broth for Christmas, A Hearty Broth for the Governor, and the Oscar-nominated The Savoriest Broth in the World. But what most folks didn't know was that when Clark wasn't busy on a movie set or waving to the cameras at some swanky red carpet event, the thing was, how shall I put this, a very bad boy, or bad broth, I guess I should say. Another little known fact about Clark was that the thing had been raised a devout Catholic. And finally, this is award-winning dialogue here. You my tiny little hound dog, right? He said, yeah, I know, you my tiny little hound dog too. And you my tiny little son, right? Yeah, I know, you my tiny little son too. And you my tiny little toy soldier, right? Yeah, you my tiny little toy soldier too. That's great, man. How can you not have been a stand-up comedian at some point? Oh, we got Frank. Frank's finally here.
I'm glad you're digging this stuff, man.
It's great. How can you be? You said this is your last. That's your last like long form book, and this is your last collection coming up. How can you just set this aside? Have the politics really gotten that bad, or are you wanting to try something else that badly? Because this is like you just getting started. It feels like. I mean,
well, okay, you're hitting me with the hardball question, huh? This soon? It's only 8:35, man. Come on. No, that's all right. That's all right. You know what? It'll be six books with the collection. I know you guys touched on this topic briefly with when Frank was on. Actually, there he is. And 2 episodes ago or whenever it was, and he had said, we had spoken privately, and he had said, well, he's said he's not having book sales, and I think that was the main thing, and that's true. But I want to clarify that I could give a cockroach's swinging blue nutsack if I ever made a fucking dime on book sales. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now the reason I'm concerned about book sales is that as writers, that's the only metric we have, right? To gauge if people are reading us, are paying attention to us. Right. Now, is it possible that there's a secret Douglas Hackle society and they're trading pirated versions of my books, and they love them, but they're not telling anybody, and they're not going to tell me? It's kind of a cool idea. But anyway, that's probably not the case. Book sales, that's what tells you if people are reading you or not. And just historically speaking, they've just been very, very low. In my mind, so low, I just kind of round to zero, and that's sort of an exaggeration. There's a little trickle. I get a sale here and there with a new release. I'll that first week or two, I'll get 10 sales, 15 sales, but then it's just like it drops off, and when you get into this game, this writing game, whether it's Bizarro or whatever the hell you're doing, there's no rule about what your expectations can be and what your goals can be. You know what I mean? Like, you do whatever the fuck you want. If your goal is to be the next Stephen King, have at it. Step up to the plate, fucking swing, even if it's the most pathetic, even if it's the most pathetic attempt at being the next Stephen King, that's your right. You can do that, right? There's no rule, right? And different people have set different goals when they get into this, and they have derived satisfaction from different levels of readership. The guy you had on last week, his name escapes me.
Thomas Kleckler.
Yeah.
He mentioned a really cool point. He said, when I create something, if I could get two people to consume it, as it were, read it, or watch. I know he does art and stuff, but if I could affect two people, affect their lives, leave some impression on them with my art, then I'm successful. And that's cool, right? That's, again, there's no rule. You could your goal could be this, avalanche of commercial success, or it could be that you could just want to reach two people with each book you put out, and I think that's cool. So where am I at, in that spectrum? Like, I don't have a problem, like, not being, the next cool thing that, people started talking about in the indie or the small press writing. My level of success, I have a little bit of street cred, mostly among, let's face it, other reader writers in the scene, but yeah, I haven't, like, beyond that, I haven't really reached much of a readership. And I got to a point where, like, for a while, I was fine writing books for this tiny, small amount of people. And then, I just got to a point where it just doesn't feel quite as rewarding as it used to do that. You know what I mean?
Even with like the laugh track you're generating here, that doesn't satisfy you a little bit. I mean,
oh no, of course it does. The fact that anybody, picks up my book and reads it and enjoys it, to any level, and I don't need somebody to, say, oh, this is, the best book I read in the last 5 years, 10 out of 5 stars. Even somebody who gets in there and, says, man, 3.5 stars. I had a lot of fun with this book, It's no Moby Dick, but, I appreciate all of that. I never take any of that shit for granted. But yeah, it's like, I just get this gut feeling. It's just, I can't explain it. And again, there's a difference between complaining about things and observing things. Right now I'm observing a certain, let's say, commercial performance of my books, and I'm not complaining about it. It's not the reader's fault. It's not my fault. I mean, you could say, like, oh, maybe Douglas, if you were a little more aggressive on the marketing end, you would hit a number that would make you'd be more satisfied with, there. But what's the point in dwelling on what ifs? You know what I mean?
how would you get more aggressive with marketing? What would you do?
Like I said, I don't even know. It's like, like, would I have been more successful doing this had I been 10 years younger? Had I been a little handsomer? Like, there's all these things that go into the equation. Who really knows? It's crazy. We could speculate. Like, I'm a middle-aged, cisgendered white guy. I may come across as, and that may come across, I don't know, like maybe people want to read somebody who's a little more interesting in real life, or it's hard. Like I said, everything I'm saying right now is speculating, because I have no idea. You asked, like, what could I have done to make things, go differently? I have no idea. So actually, I shouldn't even comment on it.
Yeah, all I can say really is, I like everything that I've read by you, right? And I hope that you do go forward and you actually do publish this last collection of short stories. Hopefully you don't abandon that project, because I'm looking forward to that. But my question to you is, do you have are you excited about whatever other writing project you've got lined up that's not under the Douglas Hackle pen name?
At this point, I don't have any sort of projects lined up,
Okay.
which is okay. That doesn't bother me.
Right.
I kind of look forward to a period where I'm not thinking, because it's sort of, stressful to be a writer and to get a little bit of traction, and have, like, good things happen here and there, and it gives
Right.
you like this confidence, and you're like, you know what, I should stick this out a little bit longer. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, somebody will drop you a message, or that odd review comes in where somebody's like, wow, man, this book like was crazy. It was awesome. It's the best thing I've read in the last year, especially when it comes from a non-writer, like just some rando, stumbled across your book, and then you get a message like that. And then, and I'm like, okay, I'll stick around a little bit longer. I'll be honest with you, I was having these thoughts with Chairmanikin, like about a year after that came out. I was like thinking about, hanging up the towel. I probably gave away more copies of Chairmanikin than I actually sold. And, I did Amazon Amazon advertising for it. Did I do a Twitter ad for that? I don't know. But yeah, I did, I was a little more aggressive with that. I sent it to review places, some of which took it, and I got a couple good reviews there.
Right.
And still, it's just like, I'm a self-published, bizarro author. And for many people who even know that the term, bizarro is the gutter of genre fiction. It's not it doesn't have a positive connotation to it.
Right.
Unfortunately. So yeah, it's just tough, man. It's tough to get that traction.
So, I don't want you to necessarily answer this question with any specifics, but because it sounds kind of like you want to kind of like recharge your batteries, not have a plan, and if you choose to write a book or a short story or whatever it is you choose to write, it sounds to me like you kind of want the freedom to do that with no expectations and no pressure from outside, right? Just to kind of start anew with whatever comes to you. So, but I guess my question is, and you don't have to answer this specifically, do you have a genre or an area of writing that you'd like to explore? Like that do you have in the back of your mind that like, yeah, I would like to try my hand at X genre?
Yeah, sure. Like, well, from the get-go, I got my start. My first couple short stories that I subbed and were published actually in anthologies and a couple websites, short story websites, were horror stories, more traditional horror stories. They have, they kind of had a more surreal, kind of bizarre bent to them, I guess. But it was more straight up horror, and that's kind of like my home base. That's where I grew up on Stephen King and Clive Barker,
Right.
and Bentley Little and like Lovecraft and Edgar Allan Poe, and the old school stuff, and Ambrose Bierce and all that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, so like it's always been my goal. I always pictured myself as I was, sort of coming of age, as if I get into this, I'd like to be a horror novelist, and
Right.
so that's a possibility. But I'm also interested.
So you might be able to sell 2 more books a year.
Yeah, right. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And I should say, like, my story here, like, again, I'm just observing, like, the reality here, and I'm completely aware that it's a completely ununique story. It's the story of 99% of self-published, independents and small published authors, right?
Right.
Only a tiny little fraction of a percent ever achieves something like an actual, like, big, what we would call a big readership, and actually makes money on their shit. You know what I mean? Oh, Jeremy.
What the hell is he doing?
You're muted, Jeremy.
You're muted.
Is it okay? I was just going to say, I didn't mean to interrupt, but is it okay if Frank comes on? Because
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're
absolutely.
okay with that, right? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Frank, thanks for coming, man. I know that you've been a good diplomat for this guy's work, and now he's shitting all over it, right?
I'm drunk than a Bellarmine.
Hey, you know what?
Huh?
I have to go grab a beer.
Mm-hmm.
Do it.
Yeah. More beer. Get drunker than a beer guy in Beersville.
What were you going to say, Frank?
I was going to say we all just need to get drunker than a beer guy in Beersville.
What is it that attracts you to Douglas's work? Is it the same thing that attracts me, just the overall irreverence?
All right, I'm back.
Dude, Douglas Hackle. I didn't know what to make of him. Immediately, like I discovered Douglas Hackle like as I am discovering bizarro fiction, right? So like he's like a guy, like he's sort of a shining star. I understand in bizarro fiction, and I'm reading his stuff, and like it's sort of like what do you make of this? It's like I'm reading one of those tall tales with small cocks. I don't know if it's 3 or 4 or whatever the fuck. Rooster Republic.
Tall tales with short cocks.
Tall tales with short cocks. I don't know if it's 3 or 4. But it's the first Douglas Hackle I remember reading was something of the gangsta and the paperclip hustler. I don't remember the fucking whole title, but it was so fucking like so out of left field from what I'm used to reading. And I'm like, I don't know what to make of this, but there's something beautiful about this. There's something attractive about this where like, you know, now like I'm embedded in what Douglas Hackle is or what bizarro fiction is. Like I can wrap my head around it far better than the young Mr. Frank that was just discovering this stuff. But you know, even like even when I'm scratching my head about it, like understanding back then what I'm scratching my head about, like we're talking 5 or 6 years now. There's just something about Douglas Hackle in his prose, in his cadence, that is so attractive. And to me, you know, as we talk about Douglas's work, it's almost like we're giving him an obituary. We're sending him off in a Viking funeral tonight. But you know, I come back to things like Clown Tier Junkies, like you know, as much as I love everything he's done to this, you know, it's Clown Tier Junkies and just honing in on that sort of cadence that is him. That is that you know, my tiny little son, the don't hurt me, don't be unkind to me, and my grandfather. Like it's those like cadences that just don't stop. That
don't be an unkind person.
Don't be an unkind person. Whatever that whole cadence is, I forget it. Don't be an unkind person to me and my grandfather. But it's those type of things that he's
and please don't be cross with us.
And please, right? But you never let up on that. Like you've never let up on that in all these years. Like there's a constant cadence, even in your small works that we just you always feed us and treat us with and give us. It's so beautiful, and to this point where like I read something like he's drunker than a Belarusian in Belarus. So I'm like, fuck yeah, motherfucker! I'm all in on like Douglas Hackle, long form, short form. It's all great. Douglas, why do I love your work in long or short form after all these years?
Wow.
Yeah, explain that, Douglas.
Explain yourself.
Explain his love for you.
All right, let me jump into your ear. Okay, let me crawl up into your ear. Get in there. Yeah, I don't know, man, but thank you for those kind words.
I've got to ask you. I always wondered this, and because I could see somehow I could see your connection in this work. Have you ever written under the pen name H.E. Goodhue?
No.
That is not yours. Pink Slime, you do not claim that as your own.
That is not mine.
You read it though, didn't you? I think that's
that doesn't look that familiar, man.
Really?
Yeah.
I wanted to read that thing. That looked cool. That Pink Slime book.
I mean,
yeah.
Is it Hackleesque?
I mean, not totally, but I mean, it seemed like something he would write under.
Oh, I had funny how I could forget whole fucking weeks, and I remember these stupid little fucking details. Yeah, and one of the stories in my Winona collection, it's called Terror Thing, and there's this crazy ass old man Crothers or whatever. He goes into the fast food, and he goes into McDonald's, and he wants a burger with extra pink slime on it. Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, right, yeah.
But there's an Old Man Crothers in Zoltergeist also.
Yeah. I recycle names a lot. There's a whole, there's Dapper Boy is a town, Dapper Child. There's old Man Crothers, Old Crub. There's, I like to recycle these names.
So
it is what it is.
When you're at a party, I mean, I didn't see much of it at BizarroCon, but I didn't spend much time with you. But when you're at a party, like, does this same kind of Hackleesque humor come out through you then, or is it only in writing?
Interesting question. No, it's not only in writing. It does come out. Especially when I've been drinking, like I'll start telling like crazy, goofy stories, and like I used to do this thing, like right before I was writing Bizarro stories, where I would do, how they do? Oh God, what's that called? Where it's a comic routine, where you're purposely as shocking as you.
The aristocrats.
Aristocrats, right? Yeah. I used to do something like that, but with the baby or the baby in the blender joke. Like I get fucked up, I get drunk, and then I would make up these like outrageous baby in a blender jokes. Some of them were like, they ended up being little stories. It wasn't just a setup and a punchline. Right. So yeah, to answer your question, a little bit, like yeah, if I'm at a party, I'm drinking, and I'm in the right mood, I would do a little bit of impromptu, strange, fucked up storytelling, but in the context of just normal life, I don't do that. I'm a pretty sort of straight laced, just kind of regular guy. I'm a copy. That's another thing you guys said. See, I'm getting a little choppy with my talking here. I'm on my fifth beer. No, that's no good. What a lightweight, huh? No. You guys had said, somebody said they thought I was a teacher, an English teacher or something.
Yeah, somebody said that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a copy editor and a copywriter, so I write for a living.
That's what Ben. I think Ben, isn't that what you do too?
Do what?
Aren't you a copy editor too, or a copywriter?
I've done like a few independent copyright things, but no, it's not what I do for a living.
Oh, okay.
I did. I got the what do you call it? Right before COVID hit, I was actually laid off of my job of 20 years. That was it was a writing intensive, but it was more industry research. But yeah, I was, a writer by profession. And I was, last year, I was unemployed for 9 months, actually. My whole department at my old job, we got laid off. I think it was February. So it was like a month before COVID hit in 2020. And but what ended up happening was I was in the same boat as everybody who got laid off for a COVID layoff, right? The job market, had its downturn. So I ended up being unemployed for 9 months, and hence Zoltergeist the Poltergeist was born. That was sort of my quarantine book. What I was going to make a point here and completely just derailed.
Getting drunk.
Yeah, the copywriter. Yeah. So and it ended up being a blessing in disguise. After 9 months, I was able to land a job that's better than the job I was laid off from. So that
is good to hear.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, you said that you'd gotten a few stories published in the horror genre early on. Were those under the Douglas Hackle pen name or another pen name?
I was using, I think, A. Douglas Hackle.
A. Douglas Hackle?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now, are those still available somewhere?
That's a good question. Let's check. I don't.
Wait, what? The Tall Tales for Short Cox?
No, the question was he's got some horror stories published in various anthologies or magazines or whatever the case may be that are under.
It was just to be clear, it was only a couple. It wasn't there weren't that many, but
what about Douglas?
Nothing's coming up here. I know one of the, I had something in, well, I lost my screen here.
Alien, Sex, and Sociopaths, and I know that because I was co-editor of Surreal Grotesque at
Yeah,
the time.
right. That was when I was doing Douglas Hackle Bizarro. But
That
yeah,
is
a
available.
year or
It is-
two before that, I did some other stuff under A. Douglas Hackle. There was, Shane McKenzie is.
Yeah, I know the name.
Yeah.
He was in the Bizarro circle there for a while, but I think he's more of a hardcore or extreme horror author.
He's hardcore, all
Right.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know who he is. Yeah, he was the editor for, it was, I don't know if you guys remember, Pill Hill Press.
No.
I do remember the name. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple they were one of those presses, it was cool, like, because it was one of the first presses that it was the first press that paid me for my work, actually. And Shane McKenzie was the editor on one of their anthologies, and he selected a story of mine. That's the first story I ever got paid for. So, and then I had one or two others with Pill Hill Press, but Pill Hill Press, they didn't survive. They were kind of sort of prolific for a while. They were doing a lot of anthologies that probably only got purchased, by the contributors, which is
Right.
not unusual at all for the industry. So yeah, beyond that, there was one or two other publishers. There was another print anthology I was in. Yeah, you'd have trouble you'd probably have trouble tracking those down.
Okay.
But
So go ahead.
there is a really awesome story in Alien, Sex, and Sociopaths by him, and I think it's called. Is it called Terror Thing or something else? It's the thing that's covered in flies or something, and it's really funny, and it's in a closet or something. And
is that In Our Hearts or something like that?
let's see.
That was the one you edited, right? Or you were involved with, or
In Our Hearts, yes.
Yes.
Oh my God, that was great. That was great, man. And what was the thing? He was like a mummy, a little miniature mummy thing covered in flies or something.
I don't remember, but it was a play. It was basically, like there's different ways to create weird and bizarre effects, right? As a writer, one of them is sort of low hanging fruit, but it could still be effective. Is the pun, right? And that was simply taking the idiom of, when you say somebody is in our hearts, after they've died, well, in this story, somebody dies and the guy says, so-and-so is in our hearts. And the person is literally living in everybody's heart. Something like that. Does that sound right?
Yes. And there's another one here, Douglas and Bradley and Terror Clown. He had two stories in there. And this is still available, $2.99. I mean,
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Buy
Bradley,
it
man.
out.
None of us have ever seen any profit from that, including the main editor, Daniel, I'm sure. But it was a fun little thing done for the love,
Yeah, sure.
Surreal Grotesque was always a for the love kind of press. And Daniel gave me a shot, even though he fell asleep one time on a podcast when I was interviewing Gabino Iglesias, and I was mortified. But
it happens.
Hey, Ben's falling asleep too, so
Yeah, he's falling asleep on here.
who can blame him, right? But no, wow, Doug, you've got so much going for you in terms of like prosaic hilarity, just strength in terms of just bringing the laughs. And I really think you ought to, reserve some, energy to continuing that, even if it's only every few years, while you pursue other endeavors,
Yeah, again, I can't predict, what.
You're having trouble hearing you.
Oh, I put my headphones in. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yep, I can.
Gregor, can you hear me?
It's pretty. You were sounding way better earlier. So.
Oh, that's great. All right.
I can hear you, but you should speak up a little bit.
I'm gonna take it out.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah.
Here you go.
Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
What was the question?
He was just, saying you're awesome and that you should continue to write Douglas Hackle absurdist stories here and there throughout your life for his sole amusement.
Right.
For his soul amusement.
Not soul amusement.
That's my
For
question.
everybody's.
Like, why do we have to stop here, Douglas? Why do we have to stop here? Can't you just take a break and come back later? Like,
Yeah, we don't want to be let off.
Well, I can't predict the future, and let's be honest. Let's be honest. I've had some, I don't know what you want to call it, like just frustration with the markets and and that's okay, right? And I may come, like you said, I may come back and I may have, go to bed one night and have one of those ideas that just plops in my lap. And it might be like, I have to write this. I'm going to have to take up Douglas Hackle pen name again and do this. But yeah, it's just not, it's like I said, if I do get back into writing, I'm interested in doing some different things, and maybe even if I don't, Gregor, to go back to your question, like 4 questions ago or whatever, I'm interested in definitely interested in possibly writing some horror stuff, and then just doing some sort of non-specific fiction, because I am interested in general fiction, literary fiction.
Right.
I was an English major. That was my thing for a while. I almost went to grad school for it. I was sort of poised. You guys thought I was a teacher. I was actually poised to go into academia, and it just didn't happen. Like I was in sort of the 6-year plan when I was going to college, but I started graduate coursework, and my teachers, are my advisor, who was an English professor, and then the actual chair of the department, they were trying to encourage me to stick with it and go to graduate school. And they said, even if you don't stay here, they had kind of a small English department. They said, even if you don't stay here, you're the stuff we want in this program. We'll write you letters of recommendation for other graduate schools. And they were like really, pushing me and towards it, and it was good. They were very encouraging, and yeah, I was like, man, I want to get out of school. I want to go start working, and and just kind of like enjoy my 20s and party and stuff like that. And part of me regrets that, not going the way of academia. But my point is, we were talking about horror. I'm also interested in other types of fiction, more literary fiction and experimental fiction, and I have no idea what the future holds and what I may,
Well, just so you know, these gentlemen, we got Frank and Jeremy. They want you to be Douglas Hackle, to what they know and love forever. I am fine. I am fine with you switching gears. I would be somewhat disappointed if you just didn't write anything ever again at all.
But I can't see Douglas Hackle being serious. I would never. I don't know if I would ever accept it, huh, Frank?
No, but look at what Douglas has done. I mean, when you switch gears to Chairmanikin has all the hallmarks and precedents of what you come to expect for what a Douglas Hackle would do. But Chairmanikin is a dramatic shift in gears. It's far more horror, and I mean, dare I say the tone is more serious? Dare I say, because it's not, but it is a shift in tone from anything that Douglas Hackle has done previous. And even, as I'm in the middle right now of Zoltergeist to Poltergeist, it's got all the hallmarks, the benchmarks, the earmarks, the marks of a Douglas Hackle book, and yet there's something progressive about Zoltergeist to Poltergeist that I can't quite, and I'm still only halfway through, but there's something that's progressed about it, matured about it, evolved about, what Douglas Hackle does. I can see Douglas. I can appreciate Douglas going away. I can appreciate him, popping back. I can appreciate his frustrations and needing to step away and taking 5 years, 3 years, 6 months, 2 days, whatever it is he needs to take to step away from what it is that Douglas Hackle is. But I think Douglas Hackle, whatever you come back as, I will be able to recognize instantaneously and appreciate instantaneously because I don't think you can hide yourself.
That's funny. That's funny. Okay. Well, we'll see. Like I said, I don't know,
I just want to know what your new pen
what
name
that
is
next
so they can
phase.
read
I
the
don't even know what
books.
the next phase is
Yeah.
going to be. I'm actually looking forward to just like getting like an open world video game and just like zoning for a couple months and something like Skyrim. I'm not much of a gamer, but every once in a while I like to get. I'm a fan of the GTA series, Skyrim, and Oblivion, and that's every once in a while I like to put in a game and just lose myself, and that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Like it's just been frustrating, like thinking about, okay, should I keep this going? Should I try to be this bizarro thing? And I'll say it's like, again, like you get into this, everybody has their own expectations. You could be like your guy from last week. You could be perfectly satisfied to reach 2 people with your book,
Right.
But the way Bizarro is set up, or the way it turned out, like, and again, my story is not unique. Like, it's just hard for anybody to have success. Like
Right.
you have Carlton Mellick. As far as I know, he's the only person who's making a living writing Bizarro and embracing the term Bizarro. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, Bizarro, but our own Regina, who's now joining us, she's made quite a comfortable living with what she does. Of course, it's interlaced with erotica, right, Regina? So, but you've been able to make a comfortable living anchoring yourself with that, right?
Yeah, I really have, and I'll tell you what, Mr. Hackle, I really felt very refreshed when I started a new pen name and was able to just kind of,
Cool.
cruise along into this new identity and then, build this new platform and have a new fiction voice that I think was really refreshing and challenging. So I think it's going to be a good journey for you to embark on.
Well,
My-
Yeah,
thank
just
you.
let me know what your new pen name is should it come about, right? Because I want to
Are
read the
you,
book.
Regina? Are you doing like horror or erotica or?
Both, all of the above. I've got some splatterpunk stuff and some more
Okay.
experimental stuff and some, it's a wide variety of things
Cool.
that
That's
I do.
awesome. Yeah, Jeremy, that's what I'm talking about. The people who embrace Bizarro. They're not writing splatterpunk. They're not writing erotica. They're embracing Bizarro. And remember what I said about that simple definition. Literature that is enjoyed primarily because of its bizarreness or weirdness. Like, as far as that goes, if you're willing to go out there and say, I am a Bizarro author, Bizarro with a capital B, it's just there's no room really for success because you have Carlton who's up there making money, and if anybody like tried to duplicate what he did, it just wouldn't work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when 20 years ago, when he came on the scene, he didn't become famous. He didn't become the cult author that he is today because of he published Quicksand House, or Spider Bunny. You know what I mean? Like when he came on the scene 20 years ago, he gained his notoriety for titles like the Electric Jesus Corpse, right? And the Baby Jesus Butt Plug, and razor wire pubic hair, I think is one.
That is one of the most metal names ever.
Yeah, and then Satan Burger, of course, which has the woman's
The
ass on
iconic,
it.
cover, yeah.
Yeah, so like when he came out, and then he had a live reading thing that he did where he would dress up as a priest, and then he would do this very irreverent sort of sacrilegious humor. So his whole shtick when he came out 20 years ago was a big punk rock middle finger to, I guess you would say, traditional American family values and Christianity. Okay, what some people might call an edgelord. today. If you want to, they didn't use that term back then, but that's what propelled him to popularity. And then once he was there, once that foundation was laid, he could do whatever the hell he wants. He could publish these books that had the little anime characters, they're all similar, and he can do that. And my point is, and that's good that he did this. And good on him. He's this cult author. But if somebody else tried to replicate it, you just can't, because first of all, it would seem like you're ripping off Carlton, right? Second of all, you can't shock these days. Like it's nothing. I know there's a sort of a renaissance of extreme horror, but I mean, like, transgressive horror, extreme horror, splatterpunk, that stuff's been around forever, and it's hard to shock people the way he was shocking people back then. He was getting the old ladies to pull at their what do they call it, clutching at their pearls and stuff like that. Hard to get people to do that today because it's been done too many times. So if you tried to copy him again, you couldn't have success. So how else can you have success? By embracing Bizarro? Okay. I don't know. Like hold on. Danger Slater is notable because I think he attained a considerable amount of success, and I'm glad that he did. I think it's a good thing that happened. But you kind of have Carlton way up here, then you have Danger Slater, who was able to, he as far as I know, like among Bizarros, I think he has the most Twitter followers, and he just did certain things right, and he's like the Karate Kid of Bizarro, right? He's just this good kid. Everybody likes him. He doesn't have any fucking enemies, frenemies, and
he doesn't consider me an enemy. Is that what
I don't know about that. But anyway, so you have
that's kind of a bit pushing it right there.
You have Carlton way up here, then you have Danger, and then you have way below him the rest of us, the rabble. You know what I mean? And it's just hard for anybody to have any success in that.
I feel like Cameron Pierce has had success, but of course he's no longer in it. I mean,
no, that's what I'm talking about. Those guys you're talking about, 6-7 years ago. Sure, there was this healthy Eraserhead stable of authors. And I believe, I'm not a fucking expert at this, but some of those guys were selling books, and but it's sort of it's different now.
I gotta interject a little bit, Douglas, because it's always boggled my mind from the point that I step into Bizarro. Obviously, I understand what Carlton's role is at the time. You've got guys like Cameron Pierce and those ilk, but to me it always seemed like you like we're talking about, like Danger Slater, you guys were poised, like you were the next generation of what Bizarro was going to be. And I mean, I was always excited because when I stepped in, I was like, I understand the history of it, but here's Danger Slater, here's Douglas Hackle. I'm reading Tall Tales with Small Cocks. I'm reading Rooster Republic and Strange House Press. They seem like the minor leagues to the major leagues, and these guys are they're poised to step up. And then when it came time to elevate, I don't know why it happened, because in my mind, I think a lot of people always you were the guy that should have rose with Danger Slater. And I think we can all agree, Danger Slater
didn't happen.
Rose and but you didn't. And I don't want to say one is better than the other, but you're very equal, though you do two different things. But it's almost and I can't answer this question, and maybe you can't either, but it's why did you seem to get left behind at this point? And it's almost weird in the history that we talk about this, because Bizarro is half dead as it is. But it's where did you get? How did you get left? It's almost like you were dismissed, and it doesn't make sense to me. Where you should have been the voice of the new generation of Bizarro. And you were left behind. I dare anybody to tell me otherwise, but I really do feel that way 100%. Do you have any you've been a curmudgeonly about that, or do you have any way to define why you got left behind or anything of that nature?
All right, hold on. I'll answer that question. I got to go grab a beer though.
Yeah, Gary.
I think
And I'm gonna hey, I'm gonna think about it while I'm getting my beer. I'm gonna think about my answer. Okay.
Yeah, it's fair. Fair.
He's gonna come back and break the bottle across the head of the whole entire publishing industry.
Yeah, no, I want him to take it down. Who was it that recently did the Babu 691? It was kind of like an expose on all the reasons, the real reason why the thing is. That was
okay. Here I'm back.
Yeah, Lee Widener.
Lee Widener.
Wait. What did Lee Widener say? What did he do? What?
You didn't read his 691 article? Oh my God, it was like a real.
He basically read the riot act to the entire Bizarro scene in that article.
What? When?
Oh my God, it was so necessary. He laid that out because it was, it's the thing that's there that nobody wants to talk about, and Lee Widener finally talked about it.
Whoa, really? That is.
Oh my God, yeah.
I never would have imagined it would have been him. I mean,
it was him, and it was
still up.
Yeah.
Everybody quietly dismissed it, like we're not going to talk about that one.
Is it still up?
Yeah, it's Lee Widener, Babao BABAO 691. It's something about how to grow Bizarro, something like that.
Yeah, it was still there. It's still there for sure.
Got it.
Yeah,
I can't wait to dig into that.
It's scathing. In
Wow.
And the thing is,
I read that one too.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, did I interrupt you, Ben? I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say it's scathing by just being like a straightforward indictment. It doesn't come across as like angry or bitter. Just like this is what's wrong. This publisher did not erase their head, but he doesn't name them. But this publisher, was really careless in editing me. They were careless in paying royalties.
Okay, we know who edited Lee Widener's book, don't we? We know who edited it. I'm just saying, I'm not attacking the gentleman. I'm just saying we all know who was editing the new Bizarro Author series. And as far as I know, Lee Widener did not have a second book. So, hey, Ann, we're in the middle of our interview with Douglas Hackle. So, yeah.
It's not muckraking, but it's just honest. And it's honest in a way I think a lot of people have been waiting for. I think it almost has a feel. I mean, I think Ben might agree. It's like honest in a way we've all been waiting for people behind the scenes to be honest about.
Write and publish better books.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'll dig into this after Douglas leaves a little bit. But so go on, Douglas. I feel like I interrupted you when you were talking about this.
No, I read his article too, and you know what?
What?
I don't think he went far enough. His focus in this little piece is on the cleanness of the books and problems with editing and typos and things like that. He doesn't really talk about the actual content of the books. And I would argue that the bigger problem.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm hearing like noise.
That's probably
I would argue that the bigger problem.
There shouldn't be any noise, but I will mute my mic.
All right. Okay, go ahead, Doug.
What was I saying? I would argue that, yeah, he's right about that, definitely. But the bigger problem might be the actual content of the books, the ideas, the supposedly bizarre, weird ideas that, a lot of them are at least, this is very subjective. Mm-hmm. And, there's Bizarro books I like, but a lot of them, the ideas and the books themselves, the narratives, they just don't come across as being that bizarre. They're superficially bizarre. You know what I mean? Or they're not that you've seen it before. It's not that original, Mm-hmm. I would say that's the bigger problem. There are two problems. He's right. You got it. If you're going to fucking be a publisher, there's certain basic things you have to do. Don't play publisher, like be a publisher. Have a team of proofreaders and line editors and stuff like that.
I will say,
like you could have, but here's what I'm saying. You could have the most polished manuscript and it could be perfect, typo free, but if it's derivative and sort of like not that inspired and kind of like, yeah, I've seen this before, just really isn't all that bizarre or weird, then that's a problem too.
That's a big problem I had with Eraserhead of late, where they was it a John Bassoff book that was oh my god, I can't even
Drive Through Crematorium.
No, the one after that. The title escapes me, but it was a very like Disney-esque sort of a crime noir where I got done reading it and I was like, that has nothing at all to do with Bizarro. And that was the bigger thing. Like Douglas said, it could have had a million errors. The thing that struck me about it was like, this is not Eraserhead. Like, why did Eraserhead publish this? That thing, that was what struck. And it was a good book by all, measures. But it was the fact that it was so jarring that Eraserhead published it, condoned it. Like Rose was really like hyped about publishing this John Bassett, and it was like, this is really not Bizarro in any way, shape, or form, and it like, especially after we're talking about the quote unquote Bizarro con events and all that, where you're looking at them going, what are you going to do next? And this is what they do next, and it's like, well, this is like, you're just like removing yourself from whatever Bizarro is. That's very strange. And then after the fact of that comes this Lee Widener article on Babu, which talks about like deeper problems to what they're publishing and how they conduct themselves behind the scenes. It's all just very, to me, scathing and problematic, and I don't champion that. I don't think that's a great thing. Like, these are things where I want Bizarro to recover from whatever the Bizarro con, incident was or whatever. And they just, to me, it's like, these are things that sink it deeper. And it's not, I don't want to champion these things. I don't think it's great things to be talking about, but it just sinks what we all know and love and appreciate about Bizarro. It just sinks the genre deeper into its doldrums. I think it can come out of it, but like, these things are not helping at all. And these are very recent things.
Yeah. I think that scandal and an over emphasis on extreme political correctness and also a little bit of clique politics all did in Bizarro. You said it yourself in agreement with me and some of my friends, Frank, when you said Bizarro killed itself. And I think that political correctness had a lot to do with it, in addition to, like, for instance, Jeff Burke's books. I'm sorry, Jeff, but they were riddled with typos. I mean, even in the final, versions, I remember getting some proofreading versions, and like there were so many mistakes in common sentences that, I mean, I don't know, maybe it had to do with his neurological problems he was having, and that's not an insult in any way, I promise. But that Jeff Burke's in particular, his manuscripts were very mistake ridden when I would read them. That's all I'm saying.
Jeff is, I think the term for it is an acquisitions editor. He's good at that, but I don't think he's. I don't know if it's just him or if whoever he had doing proofreading just wasn't very good at it. Because there were a lot of times where Deadite Press books were, just riddled with typos, and it was not good. And even Eraserhead Press itself, like some of the books are so riddled with typos they almost read like first drafts, which is not acceptable.
Right. And not to shit pile on Eraserhead and its imprints either. Like, I recently pointed out that I read Girl Like a Bomb, and that was riddled with a lot of typos.
Wait, really?
And grammatical errors. And that, as well received as that book is, and as well received as Eraserhead and Deadite books are received, like, it's still jarring as a reader to, like, get inundated with that many typos and mistakes and stuff. Like, that's like, you can kind of see past it. There's a level of forgiveness because we're all reading at the indie level, right? We accept a certain amount of error.
I mean, I don't even accept that really as a.
Well, wait a minute, Gregor, you liked Girl Like a Bomb, though, right?
I think there's a trade.
I mean, I said the same thing that
And
Frank said, that the story in the writing, right, is good, but the quality assurance aspect of it was not.
And I don't know
just
if
don't remember that many typos. I don't remember that many typos in it, but
I don't know if I missed it or if what the PDF they gave me was for the paperback.
Yeah,
But
see, one of the major things that was wrong, in at least the ebook version that I remember that sticks out, was that, you know how at the top of a page in a print version you have like the author's name and maybe the name of the book and then a page number, right? That ended up in the ebook copy randomly throughout the
Yeah.
book, right? So
And
I mean,
it's not like I read this thing like 5 years ago. Like I read this within the space of 2021. So like whatever corrections need to have been made have not, obviously, since I purchased and downloaded the book, ebook format.
right. So I mean, her writing is good and the story was good. You know what I mean? I can't take, but the whoever was in charge of the quality assurance aspect did a poor job.
Yeah. And it's like I can obviously understand and recognize a good book and content and intent when I read it, but still, like when you're reading that stuff, when you're reading so many, like an occasional typo or whatever, you can gloss past and forget. But when it's like constant and like you start going there, this is a really good book, but that's an unfortunate reaction to have to a really quality of content book.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is that, the people on this call, now I've not read anything by Regina, but I've read something by everybody else, and almost everybody else on this call has very clean copy.
Except for Frank.
No, except for Jeremy and his
say almost.
What's that?
Am I what?
You just didn't have clean copy in that one short story that I read.
Who left? Somebody left, didn't they?
Andra.
Sorry, Ann.
Ann left.
Well, I swear I was getting to you, girl, but whatever.
I think was just her connection.
Okay.
But whatever that book was about, the story about the
Talk
DJ
radio.
or whatever, right?
Talk
You know what I
radio
mean?
guy?
There's what's that?
The talk radio guy.
Yeah. So I mean, that had some like a consistent mistake that was like, throughout the story, right? It was like you didn't know how to do dialogue punctuation, right? So I mean, that was
If you want to pull me aside and show me how to do it right, I thought I was doing it by the way I saw it in books. But I mean, I don't remember any lessons I learned in English class other than what I learned intuitively. So, I should know, as much as I read, I should know how to do all this stuff. But I guess I never paid attention to punctuation. I'm pretty good at punctuation outside of writing my own book, though.
I mean, but aside from that, I like the story and the storytelling. Aspect of it was good, right?
I know I was doing things wrong. What were you going to say, Frank?
I was just going to say, can I circle back to Douglas because I'm
Douglas is the main focus. Yeah,
I wish you would.
But like my curiosity with Douglas at this point, like because I've had Douglas on Bazong a few times, and like at this point, it's like when he's saying he's stepping away. I can appreciate where you're stepping away, but my curiosity is, I'm curious about why he's stepping away at this point. Because your goals and like what you've achieved, like I can appreciate your frustration about where you are at this point in time.
You want me to answer your first question, Frank?
Do I
ask me like why I got left behind? It probably relates to what you're asking me right now.
Yeah. Let's start there. Absolutely.
Oh God. Again,
that's kind of a shitty question too, right? I mean, it's amazing that you have an answer to it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, that's a hard ball, man.
Yeah.
What you get
hard ball? No, okay. Here, and it's speculation, but here's the thing. Early on. Here's a simple answer to your question. I'm not quite punk rock cool, counterculture cool enough for the Cool Kids Club. Okay, now let me explain that. Hold on 1 second. From early on, the actually punk rock itself was always connected with Bizarro, and that's because the first wave of Bizarros, that's what they liked, right?
Yeah.
And they, so there's this, when you hear people talk about Bizarro in those old essays, you know, they're always mentioning punk rock, and that was like part of Bizarro. Bizarro is punk rock, and again, I guess I'm not a punk rock kind of guy, you know. I mean, I am. My thing is what I do in my stories. I don't really do a political rebellion. I rebel against the conventions of storytelling themselves.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, that's what I do, and I don't really care about politics. And Bizarro, Bizarro does care about it, and they have that punk rock aspect to it. And here's the thing: rebellion against authority is as old as authority itself. In and of itself, there's nothing weird about rebelling against authority. Okay,
Right.
and the music itself, punk rock, I don't think it's that weird or bizarre. And I'm a musician. Structurally, most punk rock songs are simple arrangements, simple chord progressions. They share the same arrangements and chord progressions as Britney Spears pop songs. Okay,
I mean,
you know, like if you want to get down to the fundamentals of it. So I don't think punk rock is all that inherently weird. And there's a part of me, again, I'm a fucking guitar player. This is gonna get me a lot of friends, and the cool kid indie writing story. This comment's gonna get me a lot of friends. But to be honest with you, I think of punk rocks as dudes who were too lazy to learn how to play their fucking instruments. There, I said it. So if Bizarro, in its most essential definition, and I think its best definition, I said it a couple times now, Bizarro as a work that is enjoyed primarily because of its bizarreness and weirdness, that broad encompassing definition, you know, that doesn't need to be punk rock or have an affiliation with punk rock music. Like, and even without digging too deep into the world of what we would call, you know, weird music, bizarre music, but like I would say a band like even like Primus, you know, like these crazy videos where they're wearing masks and they have these weird cartoony lyrics, and then they actually use dissonance and discordance in the music itself. Like that's much weirder. I find that more bizarre than most punk rock. Mr. Bungle comes to mind. I mean, I could keep anything that Mike Patton is involved in. I could keep rattling shit off. And then like old school prog, like the bands like King Crimson. I mean, some of that shit's way out there, you know? Yeah. And it's much weirder and more bizarre than the Ramones or the Sex Pistols or the Clash, okay? So, you know, and now I'm not saying, you know, if you like punk rock, that's fine. But that always bugged me that there was this connection between early Bizarro and, you know, further on even, you know, and punk rock. And
like
the DIY aspect, I get that. That makes sense, right? You know, people putting together zines and shit like that. You know, that's fucking cool. But the actual aesthetics of punk rock itself, like, yeah. So I've had a hard time, not specifically because of the punk rock connection. I guess that's just sort of a lead in to say that over the years I've had trouble connecting with, you know, the more influential people in Bizarro and getting them to you know, to be interested and to want to promote me. And I think that's, you know, because my aesthetics are a little different. Nobody's called me out for it, but some of the humor, as Jeremy thought he would, you know, be so kind to illustrate earlier in the show when he read from hottest Shark Attack book. I can't remember the fucking name of my own book. Yeah, some of the humor is it slants towards the politically correct. But it's in a context where things are so fucking bizarre that nobody ever really gets offended by it. But still, I think part of that may have to do why, you know, some of these publishers, there's like two Bizarro publishers, that why they didn't really take interest in that. You know what I'm saying?
I think there's more than two now. Yeah.
And let me wrap that up. Let me wrap up that answer by saying, what was I going to say? I forgot. So yeah. With certain doors that I thought, opened for me, some, it's not all bad news. Some good shit happened, right? I got selected to be in the third Bizarro starter kit. That was a very cool thing, right?
Totally.
As a matter of fact, I was the only person in that book who wasn't published by either Eraserhead or one of its close inner circle friends, like JDO. What's his name? J. David Osborne is in there.
The red edition.
Yeah, right. Technically, he's not an Eraserhead author, but he's in that.
He was published by Swallowdown, which was basically kissing cousins with
kissing cousins. Yeah, because it was Jeremy Robert Johnson.
Yeah.
So basically, I was the only person that wasn't in that inner Bizarro circle that got selected to be in that book, and I'll always appreciate that. It was a cool thing to have happen. But when these things happen, when you're an author, you hope that it's a door that's going to lead to other opportunities, right?
Yeah.
In that case, it started to shortly after that happened, and I was selected for the book, and I went to BizarroCon, and Bradley Sands contacted me and asked me to write a book for Eraserhead and for the new Bizarro author series, right? So make a long story short, I was, excited about this prospect. So of course I got to work, and he helped me out with some developmental editing. And then I ended up writing the hottest game I ever killed in a shark attack. And I ended up going over to WordCon, whatever it was, like it was like 30,000, like I hit 40,000. I got to a point where I'm like, hey, Bradley, this is too long. Check it out. Do you think we could like kind of gut it and still make it a good book? And he looked over and he said, no, I agree with you. This book needs to stay where it's at. It's good where it's at. I tell you what, I'm gonna let's bypass the NBAS and let's see if I'm gonna talk to Rose. Let's see if we could get you on the main line. We could just bypass, which is an awesome thing. And then so cool. So I waited around. I literally checked the fucking date every fucking day, right? Yeah. And then when exactly a year later, I'm like, I messaged Bradley. I'm like, so hey, any word on what's going on with that? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Let me check. And then he messages me an hour later, and he says, oh yeah, she passes on it.
Wow.
Damn.
I'm like, so is it coincidental that she just read it exactly a year after I submitted it? She probably passed on it like the week after I submitted it,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say. You know what? I shouldn't say that. Because I don't know. She,
she passed on it though. You have your own formula. They should be looking for people with their own.
They didn't want it. They didn't want it, dude.
I know. They only want people they're friends with. It infuriates me. That is a fucking phony way.
But yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, there is a lot of like cliquishness that happen, and it seems like even compared to some other scenes, it seems a bit worse. Like they're not like as like outwardly vicious as the YA community on Twitter or something like that, but yeah, they are very like insular and don't seem. In some ways, they seem like they're in a weird spot where they want to appeal to the wider speculative fiction community, but at the same time, they don't want to, really put themselves out there like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think they kind of have for them, Eraserhead is this sort of small, lifelong, or not Eraserhead, Bizarro, although it's focused on their press, obviously. It's kind of, sort of lifelong party. Not everybody gets the invite, They literally, and I'm not bringing up, and first of all, I see like I'm bad-mouthing Rose or Eraserhead Press, and before when I said I'm observing, not complaining, that's important because at the end of the day, that's her fucking press, right? She could do whatever the fuck she wants with it.
Yeah, but I mean,
no, Jeremy, no, she could do whatever the fuck she wants with it. And if you don't like it, go ahead and start your own press. That's the way my attitude is.
100%.
I agree with that. It was also even
now. Having said that, it's like
Yeah, it was very
They have a
unprofessional.
very
of Bradley
insular
to wait
thing.
that long.
What was that?
I was gonna say if it was very unprofessional of Bradley to wait that long to let you know what was going on.
No, it wasn't.
Why
It
would
wasn't him. It wasn't him.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
Bradley would not pass on a Douglas book, I don't think.
Bradley
but it is
was
his
the one
final
who.
decision.
Yeah, he was the one he was the one who was trying to get me in there. So
Yeah.
he was kind of like the third party. Yeah. Did he? I don't know if it was his responsibility to stay on her or whatnot. Maybe it was. Fuck Bradley. No.
But it's
Hey.
Don't be too harsh on
Brad-
him. If we mention his name too much, he'll try to DMCA this again.
That's true.
Oh, do you guys get like flagged for stuff?
He gave us a privacy complaint when we made fun of him on one of the shows.
Oh no,
we're not making
he's
fun of him
listening right now.
I'm not making fun of him. For the record,
No.
I'm not making fun of him.
When I say
I appreciate.
I have to apologize because I don't want anything to be misconstrued here. When I say I'm being funny when I said fuck Bradley, I know he's listening right now, and he's like he's my guy. He's my frenemy. We talk like almost every day online, and we have these ridiculous. Oh my God, I make jokes that we should publish our Facebook private conversation.
Mhm.
The thread, like it would be the most hilarious book because just me and him, most of the time we're trading insults and we're just like dogging each other and sometimes like cruelly, you know what I mean? and then it gets good. And then, but he's like I said, to go back to this question, I've had trouble for whatever reason, whether I'm not punk rock enough or whatever, I've had trouble connecting with people and making meaningful connections and making friends. And Bradley, I have to settle for Bradley, my frenemy. I call him Bingo Bongo, my little pet monkey.
Of course I gotta thank you personally. Like nobody knows this really happened. There's a Discord Bizarro group where like you went to bat for me because Bradley like teed off on me particularly for being connected to this the Quiet Place. It almost seemed like it was an opportunity for him to like hate on me just because I was connected to Jeremy, which I will never shy away from defending what Jeremy does. Like I'm never gonna I defend what Jeremy does here on this iteration of the Quiet Place. But when he was teeing off on me in this group, and I just I know getting into fucking shit just doesn't benefit nobody. So I kept my mouth shut when he was teeing off me. But like Doug, you came to my defense when nobody else did, and I told you that at the time, but I still I remember that and I appreciate you defending me when nobody else would. A lot of people just quiet and dismissed it because everybody knows the content of my character, and it's sort of absurd to think.
And everybody's sort of fucking walking on eggshells. They don't want to say the wrong fucking thing because they don't know who's watching. And and nobody was defending you, so I thought I would go. I'm not. I don't mean that in a self-aggrandizing way or anything like that.
You
but
stepped up and I will never forget. You stepped up and just said how can you even say that about Frank? When there's no question content of his character and being associated with Jeremy, and still you're on this show now too, and we know what Jeremy's all about, and he's not some sort of filter of hate or any kind of weird shit, whatever.
Right. And my main point for those of you who didn't see, it's funny because the thread's still there.
It is still there.
You could go in there and fucking read it. It's funny. It's a funny thread.
It is crazy.
Search for Bizong and you'll see it there. But you know what they say about the internet, right? Everything lasts forever. Be careful about what's supposed. And I realize the irony as I sit here right now, drunkenly talking to you guys of saying that, but that's okay. That's okay. So this conversation, my main point was that regardless, I said, even if Jeremy is a fascist Nazi, trans-hating, whatever. Like, even if
Eats
he is,
babies, kicks puppies.
I meant to ask you, Jeremy. Did you lure me into a trap? Are you all going to put on KKK hats and put on Nazi flags and stuff? And okay, all right.
No, but we are recruiting you into the. I am recruiting you into the communist revolution, and don't try to escape. I have snipers.
All right.
I have snipers pointed at you.
Really
You're a communist now.
Ben really is a communist. I believe
it. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm actually an anarchist. It's just communist sounds funnier.
Okay. He's got a Gorbachev stain on his forehead right now.
Gorbachev was anti-communist. But I do have one of those, but it's on my penis.
If Bradley Sands is watching, I do want to clarify that I have repented of this every episode, the last 5 episodes.
Doesn't matter.
And probably
it's been really annoying.
Yes. What's wrong with trying to clear your name, your conscience, right?
I do think it's a little annoying.
There's a difference between,
it's that you keep every time you mention it, it comes alive again, man. I keep telling you, like, if you didn't bring it up every goddamn episode, I wouldn't know anything about any of these controversies.
Regina, that's because you're not in these Discord groups. Bradley Sands is constantly reminding people.
Bradley Sands brings it up all the time. Bradley, if you're listening and you're Jewish, I don't hate you. I don't wish anything. I want something awesome to happen to you tonight, tomorrow, the day after. I swear, my grandmother escaped from Nazi Germany. Sure, it was under Russian occupation, but still, she didn't agree with what was going on. Okay, so I don't wish anything bad for anybody, and under the right circumstances, I could deal with anybody and their differences. I don't agree with the trans thing on a personal level, but I don't hate anybody unless they provoke me. And even then, I have been able to forgive some people who provoke me. So please, Bradley, let me have this fresh start. I promise. If you want to come and talk to me, I will have that dialogue here, off the air, anywhere. I'm not a bad guy. Maybe I was for a few years, and that's not Strange's fault either. Okay, it was my fault. Strange didn't tell me to say or do anything. This is all me. Okay. Can I please live my life again now? Can I live my life now?
Why are you asking for permission?
Show hog.
Good.
Jeremy, show peen.
Show peen.
Show peen.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Jeremy,
show hog.
Jeremy's grandfather died in a concentration camp. The Russians shot him out of the God Tower, right?
Okay, anyway, Regina, you haven't had much of a chance to talk. I'm sorry. Do you have a question for Douglas?
No, you know what? I really don't. I've only gotten part way into Hottest Gay Man Killed by a Shark Attack, but I'm really enjoying it. Killed in a Shark Attack, excuse me. And I'm really enjoying it. It's really fun. This is a really interesting conversation, and I feel like I'm getting some real inside opinions about bizarro fiction. So please.
It's your favorite part, like my favorite part about Douglas, anything Douglas does, is his ability to personify fucking anything. You know, in hottest gay man ever killed in a Shark Attack is like Rick Allen's, the guy from Def Leppard's drummer's arm as a fucking character, or the fucking drum solo in fucking the Phil Collins song. He just personifies, right up to Poltergeist, where the guy is a lump of chicken broth.
Hey, Frank,
won an
brought it up.
He won an Oscar.
He won an Oscar. I want to write every time I read Douglas Hackle stuff like this. I want to write like this, but it's such a, at the same time you feel like a ripoff to try to do shit like that. But that's the funnest fucking crap in the world, and so I love fucking reading anything Douglas Hackle personifying fucking anything. Is there nothing you can't personify, Mr. Douglas Hackle?
There is nothing. You forgot about the best one probably in
which is like the Mr. Miyagi scene from a movie or something.
Hottest, in the hottest gay man ever killed in a Shark Attack. You know how when you're doing math,
Yes.
If you multiply a number by 9, like if you say 9 times 4, you get 36. And if you take 3 plus, and if you take the 3, 6, you get 9 again, right?
Right.
Right.
That's a character.
If you take 3 times 9, you get 27. What's 2 plus 7?
27.
9.
9, yeah.
Right.
Well, that thing I just described, that concept, that mathematical concept, that's a character in the book.
That's a character.
So yeah, no, like that's fun. You know, I have fun with that stuff. And you know where that comes from, guys?
Where does that come from? Is it Doug Leah Juliet?
Well, that's no. When writing bizarro fiction, whatever you want to call it, like what makes something bizarre, right? Like,
yeah,
what is it? Like, you know, what can we do? And as a creator, how can you do it and try to be original and do what hasn't done before? And basically what you're doing is you're distorting reality in some way and expectations. And one of the early ways people got bizarre was through anthropomorphic animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that goes all the way back to fucking Aesop, right? You know, like for you to like do, and here's the thing, you have people putting out new bizarro books where they're trying to sell it. That's one of their selling points, is they have a talking animal. Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
The Aesop was doing that shit. Seriously, try a little fucking harder.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so what it is you figure out different ways to disrupt and distort reality. And instead of having a talking animal, I'll have a talking mathematical concept. In my new book, in Zoltergeist, Beethoven's deafness is a character. You know, a minor character.
Yeah.
Recurring character in a number of my short stories, for whatever fucking strange reason, is the War of 1812.
Oh, yeah.
Like the actual War of 1812.
It's a character.
Comes walking up in there, you know, with a fucking bottle of whiskey or something. Like that makes no fucking sense. That makes no fucking sense. And I don't take the time. I don't take the time to like describe and say, okay, all right, I realize, dear reader, I realize you're going to have a problem suspending your disbelief. So let me try to like describe. You know, you don't. Sometimes I'll throw in there, you know, if there's something colorful to throw in there, but you know, normally there's no description. You just say it. You know,
Right.
One of the other minor characters in Zoltergeist is, let's see if I can remember this without looking at the book. It's the 69th time Abraham Lincoln ever cranked one off in a cold ass log cabin.
That's a fucking.
Now what I just told you, that's a character, albeit a very minor character. So yeah, I have fun with that stuff, man.
It's when I do some short stories, like you know, I've like tapped you. I think I've told you this at some point in time. Like I when I do short stories, I get fun, I get playful, you know, and at times I want to explore my inner Hackle. And I wrote this story that's coming out actually in a short story collection about the release. It's called My Date with the Non-Word And. It's like, you know, an autocorrect thing where, like, you know, you type A-N-D and it comes out ands for some reason, which is like, why the fuck is ands is not a fucking word at all. But it kept like popping up on my autocorrect, and I wrote a whole fucking story about the personification of this weird autocorrect word that came up, and I just the whole time I'm just like, this is fucking Douglas Hackle. Like I'm just ripping you off the fucking whole time. And I wrote it. The story existed for years, and I only ever read it.
Can you mute? Thanks, man.
Sorry, we'll work you back in a second. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't have to. Like, have a good night. Bye. Nice to meet you too.
Just hang in there, Ann. Hang in there, Ann, and we'll work you in a minute. All right. Don't go anywhere.
He's not trying to talk to you.
Go ahead, Frank, Doug.
Yeah, but no, that was like, you know, when I get fun and experimental, like I seem to go towards Douglas Hackle, like that personifying just really weird like not even like a thing, like just to personify a concept. That to me is like almost essence of Bizarro. Like I lean back towards Douglas Hackle when I try to go Bizarro, and that's where I lean. That's like my homage to Douglas, and where I believe the essence of Bizarro lies, and I think it's like at the core of what you write, Douglas.
Well, cool. Thanks for saying that. And yeah, that's one thing I do, is the personification of these more abstract things. And again, that's just one thing. Like, again, I'm always on the lookout to
and that's poking fun at Bizarro in and of itself, really. I mean,
everything I would
concept,
right. And everything I say are I right, I would argue is not only self-parodying, but it even goes to like another level. It's like a parody of a parody, maybe even one deeper. You know what I mean? There's this weird thing going on, this weird sense of irony about everything that I see when I read it. But like when I'm, I'll do that. That's like one of the tools in my toolbox. Yeah, sure, is to take an abstract thing and make it a character in ways I haven't seen other people do. Another thing I do, I like to take a Bizarro idea, and then that is by itself like sufficiently bizarre. I could see another Bizarro writer like coming up with this idea and just going with it. But what I do is I take that and then I dial it up like to 11, and I'll take it like to a new place. You know what I mean? A good example I have in Clown Chair Junkies, my collection, there's a story called 811. In the story, a couple is in some rural area, and they have, I guess what you would call a beehive bee fetish, and they're having sex under a tree where there's a beehive, and then the man grabs the beehive, which is swarming with bees. He throws it on the woman's head. It explodes. Okay. What happens is these bees, of course, start stinging the couple. Okay. And they've done this before, right? Guys, everybody still there?
I got you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we're rapidly.
So they've done this before, and but here's the thing: they're both allergic to bees. Probably not a good idea, but hey, that's their fetish. So what happens is whenever they do this, the guy gets on his celly and he calls 911 to bring an ambulance, right? So by the time they're done having sex and getting stung by bees, they'll, the ambulance will come and give them the shot they need or whatever. So now that idea, if I stop right there, is that a weird short story idea?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, by most people's standards, that's weird. And here's what I like to do with my Bizarro. I get that initial idea, then I amp it up.
Mm-hmm.
What happens in the story is when the guy goes to call 911, he calls 811 by accident.
Oh.
Now, what happens when he calls 811? Well, have you ever noticed that the eights, look at picture an 8. What's it kind of shaped like? It's kind of like a little bee, right? Without wings.
Whoa, yeah.
Right? It's
what
a thorax. So here's what
mean?
happens in the world of this story. If you dial 811 by accident, a whole bunch of motherfucking bees come. And here they were hoping to be saved, right? By the ambulance. But if you dial 811, these angry ass 811 bees come and they swarm over you and you're dead.
Oh, that's great.
So I say that one because it's a good, like I do that constantly.
Yeah.
Again, I'm always looking for ways to like, how do we make something weirder, and another good example of that is Chairmanikin, where the protagonist, the company he works for is, what are they called? Gregor, maybe you could help me. I can't fucking remember.
Oh yeah, I don't remember, but I know
the name of the company is like Fun Factory or something. Anyway,
Yeah.
if you work for, let's say it's called Fun Factory. If you work for this company, you go into your office cubicle, and then you do whatever the fuck you want. You eat pizza, you play video games, you watch movies, you fuck around on your phone, right? There's cots there. You could fucking, if you're hungover, you could sleep the day away, right?
And you get paid for it, and you get full benefits.
Yeah. Full benefit. On top of this, you're getting paid a competitive salary,
That's great.
All right, so you work for Fun Factory. Now the main character, he works at this, and you don't even have to show up for work. I forget what the rules are, but like you only have to show up once a week just to like log in, and if you want to go home and fucking go wherever, you can do whatever you want. So basically, it's the ideal perfect job where you don't have to work, and you're getting like $100,000 a year. I forget what it is.
Wow.
So now, again, is that in and of itself kind of a weird concept to work with?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Okay. So, but I take that weird concept and then I distort it or I amp it up. In this case, our hero, right, our protagonist, who's worked at this company for a number of years, guess what? He hates his fucking job.
What?
He wants to work in a miserable slave wage fucking salt mine, whether it's an actual salt mine or a metaphorical one. He wants to fucking work a drudgery, terrible job, 60 hours a week, and work himself to the bone. Wow. And that's a conflict in the story. So again, that's see what happened there. Like I had the initial weird idea, and I'm like, okay, let's distort it a little bit more to make it weirder. So, and your results may vary, but that's sort of my MO.
So is he a masochist then? Is that what it is, or what?
Well, that's the thing. Like it's not quite explained why he wouldn't want this perfect job and why he wants to be worked to death, and have this, turn this over, exchange this for drudgery and suffering and poverty. You know what I mean? Like, the shit that, that us, the real people in the world, we're all working ourselves till death, until we fucking, retire, we're going to work, for peanuts, we work ourselves to the bone. And it's so, there's a little social commentary there, obviously, but and it's not, to answer your question, Jeremy, it's never quite explained, and that's the whole absurdity aspect of it. And,
have you not read Chairmanikin, Jeremy?
I'm working on it. I got through the first chapter where he talks about him having the great pie job, but I haven't made it any further than that. Is Terror Thing from In Our Hearts in this book? Is he one of the people inside one of the people or something on the cover? Or?
I remember.
No, this is different. This is all new stuff.
What, Frank?
So
I just wanted, like, I remember I was talking to Douglas on Bazong about leading into Chairmanikin, and he said at one point, like, he wanted the title, the intended title at one point was supposed to be like, like, what was it, Chairmanikin? Yeah. That's like actually in the book, and I was like, man, I wish that was the title. Like, you were it was almost like I'm going straight, man. I'm gonna leave that the stuff and the creek crawl and the sleek slaw, but that stuff is all like Hackle, like it's just Hackle, like that defines you, like creek crawl and sleek slaw and that's
nice. I just
Hackle,
don't give
like,
I just don't give a heck. Like the guy says that the kid says in Zoltergeist at one point, I'm gonna go fuck my grandma, and I just don't give a heck anymore.
I don't think that's exactly what he said, but yeah, I get
it's very close.
It's never don't give a fuck. It's always don't give a heck in Hackle's fiction.
But that's but with Douglas Hackle stuff, like especially Creek Crawl and Sea Slaw and
Tiny Little Hound Dog.
That's a recurring cadence to your books, like. like where do you like latch on to that stuff? Where do you even latch on to that stuff to begin with, and think that that'll work in a fiction book? And it, like, we're all sitting here laughing, so obviously it does. Like,
Yeah,
so
for some people,
and yet you like, and you keep, you know, hammering that into consequential books. Like, where does that all come from? That cadence, so that I call like the Hackle cadence.
yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and it's, you know, it's like when I get to writing, you know, I just sort of, you know, anybody, you know, like you want each book, each story to be a little different. You want to just be a one trick pony, but yeah, you know, like I have my style, and part of my style is fucking like repurposing and recycling jokes. The very act of, you know, like some of these little language things, the very act of recycling them for readers who have read a couple of the books, it might make them those jokes and that weird language and that rhythm that you're talking about. It might make it funnier. What it does is like it adds that extra layer of irony on everything, right? Because, you know, you've seen this before. You've seen you know, a town called Dapper Child before. You've seen something called a Cree Craw or a Poo or a Foo Fap or a Pop Dot, you know, and you know, you've seen it, and it comes back, and it's like, well, why is this here? It's here because I put it there, you know?
Right.
And that's, I guess that's, I don't know if that answers your question, but it's like,
Do you think that
I mean, I
encourages?
don't think you can answer where these silly things come from. They're just
yeah,
silly things that come out of
you
your
know, it's
brain,
just,
right? I mean,
right, you know, I get in writing mode, and the shit comes. Sometimes I recycle shit, and if I do it, it's intentional, and I never waste a word. You know, there's people who will write me off as being, oh, you know, he talks about dog shit and he has a dick joke in every one of his books, which is true, But
Why does
I like dick jokes.
I meticulously write these, and every word, every f bomb, even like sometimes f bomb, like, all right, the fucking this or fuck this, and sometimes it doesn't sit right. It's like
right.
the weirdest
You need
thing.
to.
Like it's like
You need to.
it's not
You need to.
because it's like, okay, I need to be polite now and let's lay off on the f bombs. Sometimes it just doesn't ring. It doesn't fit in the language, the rhythm of the writing. And then other times I need the fucking f bomb there, or else it's not as strong. Whatever the sentences are the joke. You know, you know, writing's a weird thing like that, and you just you know, and all the weird stuff, you know, that trying to put that in a more like cohesive, a larger aesthetic vision of mine. You know, I don't really do that. I just write and you know, whatever comes out. But I do. But again, I do have these things which I just described to you that I do.
Yeah.
It takes
To make
meticulous
bizarre,
planning to
you know,
know where
bizarre.
to.
Let me finish. Let me
Go
wrap that
ahead,
up by
sorry.
just saying, Jorge Luis Borges. He,
Yeah.
you know, he's one of the many writers obviously I'm influenced by, but he said, I'm paraphrasing, but and you know, he does, you know, the sort of surreal, fantastical. Ben, what's it called? What's he do?
I'm not sure what you would call what he does, but
Magical realism.
magic realism.
Yeah, he's you know, right. Yeah, so that kind of stuff. He does that kind of stuff, but he said, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm gonna fuck it up. But he basically said, when I go to write, I look at reality, and everything that I see in the real world is fuel for my fanciful stories. I could take this component of reality and move it over here to make it do something different and weird or bizarre, and I can move this thing over there. And he's not just talking about you know, things. You know, he's talking about concepts. You know, he's talking about feelings. You could take everything that is our human experience of reality and scramble it and come up with some really fucking weird shit, you know? And that's what I try to do. And that's what I wish more Bizarro authors would do.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt like Douglas reading your stuff from Clown to Your Junkies and before, like even laid the crumbs in Told Tales and Bizarro starter kit. Like it's like you're rewarding your readers, like have been with you the whole time. Like you're just leaving a breadcrumb trail almost with these cadences, these repetitive things that you've left behind. The creek craws and any number of things. My tiny little son is a wonderful example of like anybody who's been along with you for the whole ride. But like I often wonder, like, how do you think that works for you, against you, as you write deeper and deeper, to this point where you're saying like nobody's reading my shit anymore, I'm out of the game? Like, do you think it's worked against you, but it's like a wonderful treat for anybody who's stayed along with you? Like, how do you see the whole history of that? Because like to me, like it does seem like anybody who's been along the ride, the longer they've been following you on your journey writing, like they reap the rewards of your writing, and maybe less so if they're jumping on and they don't get the jokes necessarily, and maybe they do. Like I don't know how your jokes necessarily play out to people who are reading something more recent that you've written, but to me it's always like, because I've been along on your journey, like I just feel like I've been on this joke the whole ride, and like we're just having, like I'm on a journey with you, and we're just continuing through the saga, and we're all laughing as we go. And I just don't know how those jokes play along, or if you care how those jokes might play along to newer readers. Like how do you estimate that when you write your newer stuff?
It's a good point. I totally hear what you're saying. Like in general, like it depends on the reader, really. I can say that there are some people who have just stumbled upon one of my newer books, and they loved it. It worked. And like you said, we could safely assume. Again, I said there's that added layer of irony for people who have, like you said, stuck along with me. Yeah. For some of these little phrases that come up, and these little quirks of the prose, and even without having that irony and having that basis of comparison, I've had people like, for again, not many. I wouldn't be like sort of bowing out of the game right now, but there have been a couple. Like for example, there's a couple people who stumbled upon Chairmanikin, and they absolutely loved it. Kevin Kennedy, he of KJK Publications, I think they're called. He's a Scottish guy, and he publishes horror fiction, his own stuff, but like he's a good example. He was he liked I think he liked the cover, and he was just one of those random people. Maybe he saw a review of it. He grabbed the book and he read it, and he absolutely loved it. And then since then, he's been asking. I've had 2 stories published in his anthologies, and like basically with every time he comes out with a new antho, he's hitting me up. He's like, I'm like one of his new favorite guys, So that's cool, like, but that's the exception rather than the rule. You know what I mean? Like like that's, and it's a fucking awesome thing when that happens. But again, the book was mostly ignored. But to answer your question, yeah, I think it's possible for readers to read Zoltergeist or Chairmanikin and be like, wow, awesome. And sure, are there going to be some that are like, no, thank you? Absolutely,
Yeah, and I don't think that the things that we're talking about that we're calling out here seem like inside jokes, right? Like that people don't get because it's an inside joke. But the folks who have read 5 books and they see it, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? So I don't think they stand out as being inside jokes that you don't get, and you're just kind of like scratching your head. I don't think it's that way. I mean, Creek Crawl is funny regardless, right? It doesn't, you don't have to.
I think you're right. You're right. And I may, what, Gregor, I may like unintentionally, like even like subconsciously when I'm writing, like I may do that. Like, okay, maybe I should. Like, I may dial something back if it's too esoteric, and it's like,
Right.
wow, nobody's gonna know this except somebody who read Winona or Clown Tier Junkies or The Hottest Game. You know, like I
Right.
may even like self-edit shit like that out of there. But you get a feel, you feel like what just like, okay, I said this weird fucking thing, you know, like 10 times now. It really
Right.
doesn't matter. It's going to be weird here, you know,
Right.
and people they're either going to like it or not going to like it. You know,
Yeah.
there's no reason not to put it in there. You know? So yeah.
So my question to you is this next collection that you're going to put out, is it going to be the uncollected stories? Are you going to have all the uncollected Douglas Hackle in it, plus some additionals?
No, it's I'm sorry. What did you say? The collect.
Is it going to be the uncollected? Like, is it going to have like, say all of the, what is it? Long tails for short cocks. Is it going to have all of those
Oh
stories?
no, yeah. It's not going to be like that. It's I thought about including one of the short tails, the tall tails, short cocks. One of those. I
The
liked.
riverbed?
No, I didn't like the riverbed. That's like one of my stories where I'm like, you could throw that one in the garbage.
Really? That's one of my favorite ones.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, that one's like really one of the few stories that actually made me like belly laugh.
Oh, good. Yeah, it was. You know what? It's a little scatological, and kind of going along the lines of not being the most punk rock writer. You know, you don't have to be fucking shocking and fucking edgy to be weird. I guess that's kind of
Right.
like the Douglas Hackle kind of like moral, I guess.
Mhm.
And like when it comes to some of the stuff, other most that I don't like, and that I see some other bizarro authors doing, again, like the poop monsters and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
scatological humor. Yes, granted, you're guaranteed. I'm going to fucking mention dog shit, at least symbolically, in virtually all of my
Well,
stories.
it's got to be dried out white dog shit, though,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah.
But I don't dwell on it. You know, it's this
Yeah.
gross out kind of humor, and so like, yeah, that would be something I avoid.
So you're saying that this is one of your dirtier ones, and you think it's kind of not?
A little bit.
Yeah.
You know what, Gregor, that story, I love the setup. It's the dude who's driving by the porn store with his
Father-in-law.
stepdad, and he's always real shy, like he's with his not his stepdad, his
Father-in-law.
father-in-law.
Yeah.
And I've had this happen in real life. Have you ever been with like an old aunt or your father-in-law, and then you drive, and you're driving maybe to pick up the fucking food or something, but you drive by like the porn shop, and it's right there with adult magazine,
Oh
adults,
yeah. I went to see Bruno with my father-in-law and my wife, so that
Okay.
was kind of an interesting
All right.
situation.
Well, there you go. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
like like if the right person isn't in the car with you, and then you see that big prominent sign,
Right.
adult mart, and this and that. There's this like uncomfortable moment where everybody kind of ignores it. They saw the sign, you saw the sign. You know what I'm talking about? And
Yeah.
you drive by, and then you drive by, and everything's okay. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But and I took that idea, and then I forget what happens exactly, but the father-in-law, one day they're driving to work, they drive by the adult mart every fucking morning, and finally he turns over and looks over, and he goes, "Hey, you want to go in there with me?" Or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then hijinks and fucking weird shit ensues. So
Yeah.
I love the setup of that story. I don't like where I taked it. It was kind of where I took it. It was kind of like a weak sort of scatological humor thing, which I'm not really.
It worked for me, and it made me laugh.
Thank you.
So it's not going to be the uncollected Douglas Hackle. So the people that would like to be a completist, right? They're just going to have to go dig up all these disparate anthologies to read all the stories.
You really, to be honest with you, if you really want to see like all the stuff that got into Anthos, and there's really not that much that didn't make it into, like, even some of the Winona stories were in an anthology, or they were on an online journal like Horsley's Trash or something like that. So, you know, some of them you can find, but yeah, the collection's going to be like 7, 8, 9, I don't know. We'll at least several brand new, never seen before, never published before stories. And then it's going to have a couple that have been on the internet in the last year, you know, or two, like 2 or 3 stories I think I had published. So I'm going to throw those in there because they're good stories. And then, the centerpiece is probably going to be the Ballad of Terror, Tiny Tim, newly edited, sort of a director's cut kind of version of that story. But I'm excited. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the new stuff because there's some fun. Like I did, you may be aware of the Trillionaire Tater Tots.
Yeah, I read that this month for Short Story Month. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My condolences.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I got out of it what I was supposed to get out of it.
Good. All right, so so when I it's funny when I did that story, you know, the whole Bizarro erotica, the whole Dougliette Juliet, that fucking name. But I published that, and it's funny, you know, like I had a really negative. There it is. When I published that, literally within 2 days, like 6 or 7 people unfriended me.
What?
Like, people like in the Bizarro community and like Bizarro adjacent communities. 6 or 7 people fucking unfriended me within 2 days of me publishing that.
Oh, you're not allowed to make fun of gay people. I think that's what.
No, you're wrong, dude. You're wrong.
Okay.
I don't make fun of gay people in it.
Oh, okay.
They probably construed.
I mean, look at the fucking thing.
What do you make fun of then? Who are you making fun of then in it?
Erotica.
It's a humor book. It's a humor book, and apparently some people are humorless, glum. You know, like, excuse me for not being grim and glum and depressing, stick in the mud. You know, excuse me for not being that way. Excuse me for having a fucking sense of humor. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, these people, like, it's like, can you be that fucking petty? You know, like fucking, you know, fucking, why so serious? You know?
Yeah. No, they can be that petty, yes, but yeah, man.
It's probably people that were like had Russians in their family line or something.
Yeah.
What do Russians have to do with it?
Russians in their family line. What the hell?
I mean, the main character is Russian.
Is he? Are you sure? I thought
you should slow down.
You look pretty hot there. That's where did you find that? Is that a deep fake or what?
Hey, there she is, man. That's Dougliette Juliet.
Well,
main character is Russian.
Where did you
comes
find
from
that
Russia? The U.S. to enjoy tater tots. They don't have them in Russia.
Oh, was it Russia? Okay, no, that's right.
Or it's one of the maybe satellite countries or whatever. But yeah,
Belarus.
So anyway, so this back to my collection. I had this negative, and then somebody, 6 or 7 people unfriended me, and then like some cranky dude like criticized the grammar of my product description. He had 2 corrections. Listen to this. He did it publicly and then also privately, and he was wrong on both accounts. Oh. And I pointed into articles that showed that no, you're. I think one of them was the whole emigrate versus immigrate.
Oh
right?
Yeah, I think I did see that somewhere.
From a country, you emigrate from a country, you immigrate to a country. And then he called me out. He's like, "You're wrong," you know, and he did it publicly. I mean, could you imagine that? That's like the unpardonable sin. I'm a fucking English major, you know. I'm not saying I'm the best fucking writer out there, but I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm a copy editor and a copywriter for a fucking
Yeah, I mean
living,
your stuff is pretty much immaculate as far as
anyway.
editing goes.
So anyway, but and that's unimportant. The point is, the whole reason that guy would do that anyway, and he embarrassed himself and had to put his foot in his mouth. He got cranky because somebody polluted the sea of books by publishing a book called The Trillionaire Tater Tots, and Juggle, whatever it's called, he got fucking cranky about it, along with these other guys who unfriended me. So anyway, there was so much negativity, a sort of a negative reaction to
over
me
the fucking tater tot fucking book.
Yeah. There's this negative reaction and I had plans to do a couple more books under Douglas Juliet. I had some really funny titles. I was looking forward to it, but I'm like, you know what? If this is the reaction, fuck it. This is it. This is it for Douglas Juliet.
That's too bad.
You should have done it.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, that's why, exactly, Ben. So the good news is one of the titles I saved, and I ended up writing a short story with the title, and it's going to be in the collection.
Nice.
So,
man, I thought we were gonna tease a Douglas Juliet Regina collaboration here.
That'd be something else.
Cool. That'd be cool. Yeah. What do you think of that, Regina?
Oh, I wouldn't argue.
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't know what the future has in store, but I'm gonna, probably, take a break from it all. But I mean, it's like
amazing
it was fun.
Lost friends about that.
It was fun writing that, and it was the story. What the fuck was the title? I'm gonna here's. I thought I wrote it down somewhere. Oh yeah, here. Let me pull up the title for you. Again, there was a couple titles. Again, I was influenced by the whole Bizarro erotica thing.
Yeah, the Chuck Tingle. It's basically a Chuck Tingle parody.
Yeah, It was Hunter Fox, I think, who for whatever reason got on my radar before Chuck Tingle. Maybe he was writing before. Chuck Tingle's the one who made the big splash doing that kind of shit. But anyway, I never had any interest in actually doing it. But I was amused by these titles. So, hence the Trillionaire Tater Tots, which is a legit Bizarro erotica. But anyway, so the other title I had was I Just Fucked My Own Big Fat Stupid Funeral.
No, you gotta do that, man. You gotta release that. That's great.
Yeah. So and I'm like, oh my God, like how can this happen? What's the story here? And I wrote it, I had a little file and I typed it in there and I kept it. And so the good news is with the collection, that's one of the brand new stories that's going to be in there. It is not a Bizarro erotica story, just as the hottest gay man is not, despite the appearances and the way its title kind of reads, that's not Bizarro erotica. Similarly, this story isn't, but it's fucking Bizarro. So, so if you're, you have that to look forward to if you're into my collections.
Waiting with bated breath, like but Douglas, like, it's like if you're not doing Douglas Hackle, I understand you need a break, and I get all your frustration with the industry at the moment. But like, what is it like? Are you so capable of so much more? Is there so much more we have not been privy to? Like, how do you write beyond Douglas Hackle and have us not realize it's you?
Well, that would involve, again, just, people do it every day, just doing, my more general background. I did a writing workshop in college when I was an English major, and I did all that stuff. And like I said, I'm willing to try my hand at stuff if I get the itch to. And just it would be, even as an experiment, to see okay, can I write a fucking mystery story, like an old school mystery story, and get it published? With a mystery publisher? Can I write a romance? I mention those specifically because I'm not specifically interested in those things. But it's curious, like when you have, again, like my whole fucking life is writing. I write, like even now, my new job, it's even more writing intensive than my last one. Copywriting, copy editing. Granted, it's not fiction, but so like I'm used to, in my old job, which was industry research, that was my job, to literally write about one thing, this industry, and then to completely switch gears in 2 weeks and write about another industry. I'd write about plastics, and then I'd write about chemicals, some or some oil refining or whatever. It was all this industry research. But so I have that experience of moving from completely different topics and just applying what writing skills I have to the new topic, because some things are universal, right? And I'm talking about, marketing right now, but the same thing with fiction. Now the challenge, or I called you Mark. Why did I call you Mark?
Because my name is Mark.
Yeah. I'm a little deep in my cups here, Mr. Frank. Mr. Mark, Mr. Frank. No, the challenge, which I think you're hinting at, is you're right. It may not work. I may go to write a more traditional, say, horror novel, and as such, I'm required to present, to work with a different level of verisimilitude, right? You got to get your facts right. You got certain things have to, even if you're writing, and it depends on what kind of horror you're writing. There are people who write very surreal horror novels that are experimental and don't really rely on verisimilitude, right? But say if I go and even if I'm like going like Bentley Little weird, you still have to that initial setup. You got to do research. You got to about whatever, like whether it's geography or somebody's job or architecture. You got to have that level of verisimilitude where you're presenting things and you could get people to suspend their disbelief in the way that Stephen King does and all these other people do who write more conventional horror. And that may end up being a hefty chore that I am unable to pull off. I fully admit that. I don't know. I haven't tried it. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, because like I feel like, all right, maybe you move forward, you tried to do something different. You write, you come out with a whatever, a straight horror story as Robert Tackle, let's say, and but like it's almost like our ears are pricked. Like where is Douglas Hackle going to pop up next, and can we identify it? Because it's a compliment to you, and I don't think it's even pigeonholing. Like I feel like no matter how hard you try, no matter what you might try elsewise in writing, I think we're going to be able to pick it out because Douglas, I don't think you can hide the Douglas Hackleness of your writing. I just don't think.
Right.
That's true.
You think he's not going to be able to help just writing creek crawl in a serious.
I know. It's like,
It's going to be like,
that's what I said, man. That's what I said, man. Therein lies the challenge. And like I said, I fully admit I may not be able to pull it off.
And I'm drunker than a Scotsman in Scotland. It's like 60,000 words in. I'm like, this is the fucking Douglas Hackle. I figured it out. Like, I just think that's like a thing, like, because you're so you, man, and I don't think you can write anything, like, not saying you're not diversified. I'm sure you could hide it for a lot, in 80,000 words. I might have to pick out a sentence and go, fucking, there he is. But I just don't think you can completely hide it. And that would be your greatest accomplishment would be to completely hide yourself, in some other endeavor.
Frank, your comments at the essence of your comments is a compliment. I know you mean that positively. Like you're saying you are saying, Douglas, you are just too fucking bizarre. You're not going to be able to step away from it. And I realize, and I know you mean that. You mean that 100% as a compliment. And thank you. I appreciate that.
100%. Yes.
I just want to know what the new pen name is so that I can read the book. Really,
right. Slip us a hint every now and then. Like slip one of us a hint so we can be in the loop. Yeah, we will keep this. We will keep an oath of silence, or at least I will. I'll try.
Anybody who's interested in what I've done in Bizarro, my Bizarro run, and you guys, first, well, let me say thank you for having me on and for talking. All 8 of you, or whatever, for showing me. It's always nice. Well, you know how you have authors on all the time, and and it's always fun to have people focus on you and to be the fucking topic for the minute. So I appreciate that, Jeremy, especially.
You deserve it. You deserve it. And I always knew you were one of the highlights of my time as co-editor and pretender as co-editor of Surreal Grotesque e-zine. I always knew that you would make it, and see, that's the thing, is I feel like you have made it, because cult status to me is enough of a brass ring to shoot for. That why do you need to go any higher? But I think you could go higher if you so pursue it. So good luck with that. And this has been one of the greatest interviews I have ever experienced on all 3 podcasts I've ever done. The Surreal Sermons, the Surreal Grotesque podcast, and The Quiet Place. This is definitely going down in my top 10 of best interviews ever. And I've interviewed you before, but you really came, with the full barrels tonight.
And that was a long time ago.
Yeah, but you pulled it off tonight in spades. And thank you for giving me the time of day as I try to rehabilitate my image, sincerely.
It's all good, man. Just don't be hating, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think you're going to come around on the whole trans thing eventually. Hey, don't. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to get into a discussion. But I think you're a good person. I think we're going to get you to come around someday. But that doesn't matter. All
right.
And thank you very much for having me on. Yeah, it's getting a little late here, and I think I said everything I need to say.
Well, wait a minute. One more thing. Before you sail off into the sunset, I want to be christened with a new tiny little something.
Oh my God, dude. You're drunker than me, man.
Just tiny little, give me something. Tiny
Jeremy,
little. Yeah.
You my tiny little stray 3-legged wolf cub, right?
I love it. Yeah. You're my tiny little hound dog. Yeah.
Good enough?
You're my tiny little indie author. All right. Love it. Thank you so much, man. It's
all right, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to drop out now, so everybody take care.
Yeah.
Thank
Have
you.
a delightful time.
Wow.
Have a good night, Dougliette.
Wow. And if you want to come back, I don't know, you're probably not watching, but I do hate that we missed Ann's yoga session. I think maybe she was gonna let us, be voyeurs on that, but she probably doesn't. I mean, I guess it was worth it, because we were talking to Douglas Hackle. But I mean, I hope that she'll let us in on future sessions. Come on, am I the only one that would? Come on, I can't be the only one. I don't care. Typhus and all, man. I don't care. Anyway. Okay. Anyway, Frank,
I'm looking forward to reading these Hackle books. I'm very excited about them.
Yes, I'm
too.
very.
What do you think he's going to try